got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
Literally a guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that perfect lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. It's Mexican Grand Prix night, and I'm looking forward to it. Both Jana Watmir and Barry Burman have both won here before. And I tell you what, we could be seeing them once again tie up for the title. It's almost, I tell you what, it's almost poetic, isn't it? With only 3 rounds to go, including this one. You're tuned in, as I said, to PSGL. Joining me, George Morgan, it's Jack Canan. Jack, how are you doing, sir? Looking forward to this one. Unfortunately, your last of the season, which I have to say, a bitter shame.
It feels that way for me as well, but I'm really looking forward to this race. I mean, what a title decider we've got set up for the next couple of rounds. A point separates our top 2, and it's the old characters, I suppose. It's Jarno Watmir versus Barry Boromant. But now we have another contender who's decided to enter the fray all of a sudden. Nicholas Longe, only 14 points off the championship lead as well. And we have Brendan Lee tied on points with him as well. So it's super close. 4 title contenders at the moment. Lucas Blakely didn't score last time, but he's still very much in it with a couple of rounds left to go. So really excited to see how that goes as well. But Mexico always delivers when it comes to incredible racing so far. The couple of seasons we've had, only 2 drivers that only won here before though, and those are Jarno Watmir and Barry Boromant, who won, I believe, twice. So it's going to be a spectacle to watch. But what's very unusual about tonight, George, is the drivers are on time and we're ready to go.
I know, it's unbelievable, folks. The drivers haven't yet got onto the circuit, we will say that. Just to give you guys a breakdown of what's been going on, because obviously we all want to talk about the championship. It currently looks like this. Jarno Opmeer is on top of the tree, one solitary point in front, despite not even winning a race this season. He's taken P2 on 5 consecutive occasions, his last one being at the last round in Saudi Arabia. However, Barry Burman, as I said, a point behind him, 73 as things stand, and he has won a successive 2 races back at Brazil and Hungaroring, since then scoring podiums at Austria and also Saudi Arabia itself. Nicholas Longe and Brendan Lee currently tied up on 60 points apiece, and incredible that Longe has brought himself into the mix. But Ferrari looking to once again bring themselves to the forefront. They won the title with Barry Burman, considering the driver's title. They've yet to win the team's title here, Jack, but with this pairing, you've got to give them a chance.
Oh, you absolutely do. Yeah, this is, you could never discount the Ferrari pairing at all as we head into the last couple of rounds as well. And Longe has delivered some great results. I mean, we talk about last week and that incredible race to the finish between himself, Jarno Opmeer, and Thomas Runner. Runner with the penalty, of course. He won on track, but had 8 seconds of penalties carried over from the previous week. So it ended up being Nicholas Longe stealing it away from Jarno Opmeer by 0.06 of a second across the line in Jeddah, and Jarno Opmeer finishing P2 for the 5th time this season. But what that did do is give him the championship lead over Barry Burman, who's been on, again, not a great run of points, but there were penalties for others last week and he benefited from it. He finished P5, I believe, after penalties, and again, that sort of rescued the gap that probably could have existed otherwise. So there's positives to take for Barry Burman there, but this is now crunch time. He needs a result today, and this was the scene, George, of his most dominant victory that we had last season. Won here last season when he was driving for McLaren, of course, won here by 7 seconds. And when we're talking about a grid like this, that is a huge gap.
It is a huge gap, and of course Barry Burman taking the title last season. He is the current reigning champion. Of course, 4 pole positions registered last season as well. He's going to look to try and levy his way to the front this time. In terms of wins, he won 4 races last season. Podiums, 5 to his name last season as well when he took the title. 0 fastest laps, however, but he didn't really need them, of course, to score the big points up at the front end, scoring 86 points to take his first title in PSGL last season. Jarno Opmeer, however, he has the most championship wins in PSGL. He's won a magic 3 times, certainly, throughout the entirety of the PSGL Championship since its run back in season 27 on the PC platform, and is the sole driver to win it more than one occasion. Of course, Lucas Blakely taking it once, as I said, Barry Burman taking it last season as well. So lots to look at, lots to enjoy. In terms of pole positions, Jack, Jarno hasn't necessarily been successful in that. We know that qualifying isn't his strong suit. Well, I'll hark back to Barry Burman, his best pole position record, 2 of them coming at the start of the season.
Yeah, it was. And just to digress for a second, that last sector for Ruben Pedreño on the wet tyres was beautifully controlled, completely sideways through every single corner, beautifully controlled for Ruben Pedreño. But no driver has decided to set a time on the inters, which is unusual because I did inaugurate the PSGL Intermediate Tyre Championship, and no one has decided to compete for it this week. So that's very disappointing.
I think as soon as we announced it, they just decided, right, we're not going to bother. So yeah, that's what's happening. I need to find out, is that Freddie Rasmussen in 3rd place currently, as we're seeing on our timing screen?
It is, yes. God. It is, yes, Freddie Rasmussen.
He doesn't want to help us, does he? He really doesn't. He sticks weird names. I'm not even going to bother reading that, as do Quirk. Just to let you know, guys, the man in P3 is indeed Frederick Rasmussen. So do not despair. He is here with us. He's just decided to change his name on Steam. My guess is just to, just to have a bit of a laugh at our expense. But nevertheless, looking forward to this. Around this very circuit, of course, it's hellacious. Plenty of opportunities, and 4.304 kilometers, 2.674 miles. 17 corners await the drivers. Incidentally, broke ground in 1959 here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Opened up eventually that same year on the 20th of November, and formerly known as the Autodromo Magdalena Mixhuca as well. 110,000 capacity. In terms of frequent winners, we allude back, of course, to Barry Burman's championship win last season. He's won it twice. McLaren back in season 31, Ferrari in season 33. Jarno Opmeer being the first driver to win here back in season 27 that led to him winning the title, which goes to show, Jack, that this circuit very much defines a champion here in this PSGL Championship.
Does, yeah. So Mexico has always been sort of the crutch point for championships. I mean, Barry Borman winning here by 7 seconds set up the sort of the final round melee that we had between himself and Thomas Ronnar towards the end. So Mexico always is the mark of who may be champion. So let's say if either one of our two championship leaders win today, you can probably, statistically wise, we can bet on them being the champion. We'll wait and see. We were having a quick look in the drivers' Discord before we got in here, and Thomas Ronnar was asking Freddie Rasmussen whether he slapped his keyboard when he decided to choose that name in P3. But it's great. It's given us entertainment.
Anything to make us feel better, Jack. I think that's the main thing. Barry Burremand this season, 2 wins already registered. Nicolas Longuet levelled alongside his teammate as well. Of course, we had 1 win for Brendan Lee this season, remember, back at Qatar, and plenty of others. But in terms of the form characters, of course, Jarno Watmir, 5 podiums this season, and he hasn't needed a single victory to nestle those on the board. The way the stats read, Jack, everything is against the Flying Dutchman. Yet he sees himself leading the title charge with 1 point. I mean, how does that work? That is a bombshell, would you not say?
Yeah, but does it? I think it shows how consistency wins championships. I mean, there's only been one real occasion where a driver in let's say real F1 has won a championship just by never winning. That was Keke Rosberg. It is doable, but you have to be consistent in a championship like this. And that's what Jarno's been. And bear in mind as well, he's missed, I believe, 1 or 2 rounds in the middle of that as well. So there was points losses there just by, again, not coming to the races. But consistency, 5 P2 finishes, that's big points when we're in this championship, all things considered. He's still in the lead of the championship. We sort of saw the onboards afterwards that in the heat of the battle of the moment last week, he forgot that Ronnar didn't have had a penalty towards the end, and had he known that or remembered that, he possibly might have let Ronnar go a little bit earlier and fended off Nicolas Longuet. So it's all in hindsight, but either way, P2, huge points. But it did drag Longuet into the championship fight. 14 points off of the top. If you're not unfamiliar with PSGL as well, the point system works differently here. It's 16 points for a victory here, 12 for second, 10 for third, and so on down towards to P10. So keep that in mind. 14 points. It can be a deficit that gets overturned, but if he continues to just chip away at it, with 3 rounds to go, he'll be right in it towards the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we want to talk about Jarno's form right now, that has led him to lead in this title charge. P2 at Brazil was his first official result laid out. Of course, he missed Netherlands. He missed Hungary in round 3. If we're considering the point scoring rounds, not going to count the first 2 that were essentially set during the tyres embargo, shall we say. Britain, he finished second again. Qatar finishing in P10. Austria in P2. Japan P2. He finished Imola in P6. Belgium in P4. Saudi Arabia P2. He is yet to finish outside the top 10. And I'll say that again, outside the points in races he has competed in this season, which I personally think is a statement to suggest that he is rightfully there for the right reasons. Take race wins out of the category. It is essential to be consistent, and that's exactly how he's been. Barry Burremand, whilst he has nestled together 2 wins this season, multiple podiums, equal on podiums with Jarno with 5, because he has missed out key points. I'll allude to Bahrain, I'll allude to Imola, and he had a bit of a disappointing run at Belgium as well. That's what's costing him the championship lead right now, Jack. And if he carries on like this, if the form carries on the way it has done ever since season 27, Barry Burremand back into old bad habits, it's going to cost him the title. And that's pretty much it.
That is, yeah, and these are the rounds that he has to deliver results. We've seen it. He can deliver. He's just either that he's been caught up with incidents. There was a safety car last week that was detrimental to a lot of guys' races in the end towards again the last half of the race or so. Gifted guys who started on an alternate strategy of free pit stops. So that again can be frustrating. We saw Barry Borman last week. He was incredibly frustrated that the safety car came out when it did, and questioned whether the safety car was should we even be running a safety car in league racing? Why does it need to be on, etc., etc. It's of no benefit. But again, you have to keep in mind that there will be times where drivers will benefit from the safety car and others where they won't, and that was one of the occasions where Barry did not benefit from it. But he'll be looking to go out today and replicate what he did last season. It's not that long ago where he won here by 7 seconds, decimated the field, and he'll be hoping to do that today. He needs to do it today. He's a 1 point deficit to Jarno. If he can, again, just needs to keep outscoring. As the first runs of Q1 come in, Longate for the top for the moment. Beresne splits the two of them. And we'll be able to see some more times come in. Wilson Hughes slotting in just behind as well. Now, the lap around here, although it's long, kilometre-wise, it's an incredibly short lap. 1 minute 15, lots of straights, lots of DRS opportunities as Barry now goes to the top. And what we're noticing now is how closely matched Barry Borman and Nicholas Longay are when we're talking about pace-wise. They're very rarely separated by more than a couple of hundredths.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. Purple first sectors for Nicholas Longay. Purple latter sector going to that of Barry Burman. That was where he hooked up the top time. We're currently watching Jarno Watmere as well, making his way down through towards the next right-hander, heading out of Recta della Ovalo and then into the Forest Sol before then teeing up the Peraltada. The final run towards the line is what beckons. Freddie Rasmussen second fastest, as now we see Alfie Butcher slot 4 fastest, Brendan Lee 5th. In comes Jarno Watmere. He takes 4 fastest away from Alfie Butcher and nestles together a very sensible time. And look at that, sharing the same time as well with that of Nicholas Longay. 90 thousandths of a second, that's 900ths to those of you who want it in hundredths form. Further up then, of course, Freddie Rasmussen at 49 thousandths off the top time.
Very, very close once again. So Barry, the only man in the 14s at the moment, but Rasmussen in the middle of that as well. Interesting. Longay and Jarno sharing the same time between them there as they came across. Alfie Butcher, of course, a race winner from Spa a couple of rounds ago with a fantastic drive, very, very measured drive, and one that he needed to sort of deliver considering everything. So looking at the gaps then down to the drop zone, we're looking at about 2 tenths, just over 2 tenths. And right now, Ruben Pedreño for Fabrizio Donoso, all that separates them between being in or out is 1,000th of a second. That was the margin of pole position last week, of course, between Thomas Ronar and Thomas Ronar stole pole by just 0.001 of a second, the closest gap we've had, and one of the closest gaps we've had in PSGL so far. So Barry Borman currently the fastest man in Q1 and on a 14.9. Does he feel like he might be safe with that? Considering how close the gaps are, you would sort of take a bit of confidence that he's already done a 14. I think he could be safe there.
Yeah, I would say so. Very, very good start for Barry Burman in what can only be described as a lack of qualifying form, in a sense that he hasn't achieved pole since all the way back in Brazil during what you could call round 4. Incidentally, it's probably more like round 2 if we consider the points. But Burman will be looking to try and bring himself back to the sharp end. Incidentally, himself and Jarno, the top two, haven't qualified on pole position since Barry Burman scored that Brazilian pole in round 2. Further down, of course, Longay has brought himself into form recently. Remember Spa-Francorchamps, where he took pole on that occasion as well. And further down, of course, Lucas Blakely taking some really impressive pole positions at Britain and Qatar. So we're looking at the form characters. The man with the most poles is incidentally Thomas Ronharjak, and he scored pole at our last round at Saudi Arabia.
He did indeed, and well, he had that statistic last season as well, the most pole positions of anybody. It was a battle between himself and Barry Borman for that plaudit. But again, the most pole positions did not equate to the championship. Again, it came down to count back last season. They both ended up tied on points at the end, and Barry's extra 2 wins were the deciding factor in the championship last time for Barry Borman. So he finally clinched the elusive title he was aiming for, and he'll be looking to try and become a 2-time PSGL champion, but he has to defeat Jarno Watmere at the moment. He has to again fend off the charge of Nicholas Longay, possibly Brendan Lee, and Lucas Blakely. Last week, of course, he got caught up in an incident sort of halfway through towards the end of the race, actually, coming out of the final corner at Saudi Arabia, lost the entire front wing, and that was him out of the points, and that was a big dent in the points that he could have possibly gained there. He now lies still on 53 points off of the back of the championship lead. So he has a bit of an uphill climb, does Lucas Blakely. He lies about 19 points off the lead, but not an insurmountable gap for the reigning F1 Esports champion.
No, not insurmountable. The gaps currently further down. I mean, you you could argue that there are opportunities for many, but you've got to look at the top 4, I would allude to. And I mean, Blakely, while he isn't far away, I think obviously a 21 points gap is going to be quite an excruciating amount to really try and measure against. But I tell you what, Brendan Lee, credit to him, bringing himself back to the forefront in terms of where it comes down to F1 esports and F1 league racing for that matter. And obviously will give himself a great chance here at Mexico if he can score a big result. As I said, hasn't won since Qatar, but the form hasn't been too bad for the former 2-time F1 esports champion. Of course, has sat in the podium places at Hungaroring. He won the Qatar race, as I alluded to before, 3rd at Japan, and has since then scored some really decent top 10 results. Imola P5, Belgium P5, P7 at Saudi Arabia. Would like to bring himself back into pole proceedings here at Mexico. We'll have to wait and see whether he can do that. As we now see Danny Berejnet make his way down through towards the next segment of S's. Heading out of the Solana section now. He'll then weave heading down towards the Transera and through the other S's towards the Avalo now as he rounds this next right, heading out of turn 6, turn 7. Coming up next, we need to try and dial this in. Currently sat P7 at this moment, Danny Berejnet, and having a very good season as well, arguably also coming back to brilliant form as we now count the timer down in towards the final 10 seconds here in Q1. Enter Danny Berejnet, hooks it through in the final sector, very strong. Already coming through the Forest Sol and then through towards that latter sector. Coming out of turn 16 through the Peraltada. Here comes Danny Berejnet, keeping a tight line on the inset, comes up towards the line. Second fastest, a great time from him. We've got a Mercedes coming through as well. That's Marcel Kiefer looking to improve, but can only go 14th fastest, Jack. Rasmussen in 3rd.
Yeah, that might be unsafe for him there. We can see now more times coming in. Longa going a little bit faster, improves. Lucas Blakely does another 14 to go in front of his old teammate for the moment at the top of Q1. Alvaro Caraton into 9th place. So it's currently Joni Tormala who's on the cusp at the moment. Alfie Butcher matches his Haas teammate for the moment. Brendan Lee slots into P2 for the moment. And we'll see if any of the other guys down here can improve. Ruben Pedreño not currently improving, but Donoso is a big slide in the middle sector. Though that might be costly for Donoso here. Kiefer will be out of this part of qualifying, down in 16th. Jake Benham goes to the top of the order for the moment. Huge amount of oversteer, frustration for Donoso. Both of the Astons are going to be out in Q1. You can see the car was not behaving there as they crossed the line. Pedreño not able to get through as well, but Marcel Kiefer eliminated from Q1. Joni Tormala, Ruben Pedreño, but Donoso looked really unhappy in that final sector. The car was sliding everywhere through that final sector, and once again he is eliminated from Q1. John Evans not able to get a time in now, so Wilson Hughes breathes a sigh of relief in 15th. He makes it through, but Jake Benham tops Q1, and only 4 drivers went into the 1 minute 14.9s, but big shock there from Marcel. He wouldn't have wanted that.
Yeah, the all-star Jake Benham takes top-end proceedings here at Mexico, 1:14.902. Remember Barry Burman scoring that 1:14.998. Didn't need to come out after all. Safe as houses in 4th, with Blakely in 2nd, back to his usual quick best. But I tell you what, good staple run from Benham, really showing his improvement straight away here at Mexico. Let's take you through the top end, and that of course being Jake Benham now in P1, 43 thousandths faster than Lucas Blakely in 2nd, Brendan Lee 3rd, and Barry Burman in 4th, Danny Berejnet in 5th, Alfie Butcher in 6th. Haas in really good form right now. Thomas Ronhart, 3 poles to his name as we alluded to, 7th fastest here in Q1. Nicholas Longay in 8th, Freddie Rasmussen in 9th, Jana Watmere in P10. We'll take you straight down to the eliminations. Marcel Kiefer, Joni Tormala, Ruben Pedreño, Fabrizio Donoso, and John Evans, who did not field a time, of course, out here of qualifying, and they will not proceed into Q2. So there you go. That's the current updates. Unbelievable, folks. Obviously, a few shocks there, Jack, I would say. I mean, I think if you're Marcel Kiefer, I think you're bitterly disappointed because his recent form coming into this round hasn't been too bad.
No, it hasn't, and he'll be really disappointed with that. You can see the lap he did wasn't quite up to scratch, and again, it's not far off the mark. It's about a 10th or so, but that's a big margin when we're talking about F1 esports level around here, and a 1 minute 15 lap around Mexico. just didn't quite hook it up. Donoso, I don't know what's happened with Donoso lately. Just the luck has not gone his way, but that car looked so difficult to handle in that final sector, sliding absolutely everywhere, and looked like really frustrating times for Fabrizio Donoso, who started off the season so promisingly, but whatever's gone on in the past little bit, it's not been a happy time. Now, what is interesting to me, George, they're very, very quick out onto the track. I think there's rain coming in this session.
Yeah, and Jack, you're absolutely spot on. Guess how long we have before we have it?
Do we have about 1 lap?
5 minutes. Rain starting in 5 minutes' time. So, at least that's what my telemetry's telling me right now. The air's currently sat at 19 degrees, which isn't too bad. Track temperature at 27. Generally, you see it between 28 and 30 at optimal temperature. But that's going to be a struggle when the rain comes down. So make sure you get yourselves ready, folks. We're going to be in for a deluge in around 5 minutes' time. So the drivers now looking to make their way back out onto the circuit. A little reminder as to who's got through. Josh Edo, he's through, as well as his teammate Freddie Rasmussen, Patrick Sheepos, Jana Watmere, Barry Burremand, as well as Danny Berejne, Wilson Hughes, Jake Benham, Thomas Ronha, Nicholas Longe, Alfie Butcher, Ishmael Fassi, Brendan Lee, Lucas Blakely, and Alvaro Caraton. So essentially now, Jack, we've got a situation where very much this qualifying session, it's time for make or break.
It is, yeah. So these 5 minutes, I mean, you're only going to really get this 1 lap, and possibly, if you're quick enough, another one. And classic Danny Berejne has gone straight out. He's the first car out there and is about to begin his lap. Now, these laps are so crucial with rain on the way. This could be the lap that either gets you through or sees you out. Needs to hook it up immediately here in Mexico. So Berejne will get us underway, but 15 cars out on circuit at the moment, and apart from Patrick Sipos, who's now come straight back into the pits, actually. Done one out lap, come straight back in again. So we'll see what he's going to do later on. He may not even decide to come out again. But he will need to, because there is rain on the way. Possibly came out on a used set, did 1 lap installation and came straight back in, but could be tight for time there. Crucial laps on the way, though. Danny Berejne in the middle sector now, and he will need now not to invalidate this time. He cannot afford to invalidate through this sector, and this is probably the hardest sector to do at the S section as he winds his way through into the middle sector. And the rain is coming down now. It's on your screens, so these laps now are the ones that are going to matter.
Yep, the rain now pouring down. Danny Berejne being the first out. That is a real advantage for him. But I can tell you that Alfie Butcher is purple in the first sector at 28.5 against the 28.6 that Berejne has just put in. He's just put in a 27.8, however, has Berejne in sector 2, which is still holding firm as the fastest sector time in sector 2. Across the line, a 1:15. Now, is he going to hold on here? In comes Alfie Butcher, his teammate, heading through the final quarter. Remember, he was purple in the first sector. Jake Benham goes second fastest. Brendan Lee, 4th fastest. And that's the difference the rain has made. Butcher losing key time in that final sector, Jack.
Yeah, we're already a second off. It's coming down really hard here, George. These are big laps that are going to occur here as Ogmir gets through for the moment in P8. Wait to see now. Borman goes through in P6 for the moment. Are there any more improvements? It'll be Rasmussen currently out. And I think that might be it, George. If there's no more improvements, we're already a second off the pace here in the rain. And for the moment, it seems like we're going to lose Nicholas Longe. And if that's true, that's a big loss for his championship outside the top 10. They have to keep pushing on this set by the looks of it, but for the moment, Longe and Rasmussen are in the drop zone with no sign of track improvement.
Yeah, incredible scenes indeed. And if you're Patrick Sheepos, you're going to be kicking yourself. Left it very late to head out onto the track, and now the light rain is due to come down in 2 minutes' time. So the rain already dissipating. There is still a chance, Jack, we could yet get dry conditions again, but I get the feeling it's going to be left very late.
It could very well be, but Patrick Sipos, I mean, unless he's got something up his sleeve here, he's going to have to really send it on the side. You can see the oversteer already coming out of the final corner for Patrick Sipos, so this is going to be a sketchy lap as they come down towards turn number 1, but that could be it for Q2 here, unless there is a chance of it getting dry later on. But currently the rain coming down, with the big loss in this, if there is no more track improvement, will be Nicholas Longe, 14 points off the championship lead, sits in P12. Rasmussen as well, only missing out by a bit. But you can see how quickly the times have dropped off. We were in the 1:14s in Q1, and already that rain coming down has given us a 15.8 on that time as Sipos winds his way through the middle sector here. We'll be able to see now what he's able to do. If you can even scrape through in P10, that'll be enough. But you can hear the wheel spin coming out of the corner there. It is very wet out there. Sipos trying to get a time in here, but it's looking very sketchy. You can see how much he's having to feather the throttle through the S section as well.
He's a second
as
off.
the rain continues to fall. Already a second down on his time, so this is not looking good, and Sipos will be ruining that decision to come into the pits when he did. No chance of getting through now unless there is track evolution. We'll get an idea of the difference. He slides his way through the middle sector now into the final sector and final corner, gets on the power gently, does it, but look at the difference in the time as he crosses the line. It's a 1:20.5. We're already about 5 seconds slower.
Yeah, losing a sector, and in fact in that middle sector. But bear in mind that the top time fielded by Danny Berejne, who went purple in the middle sector, was a 27.8. And I can just tell you that Patrick Shipos set at 30.061. That goes to show the difference, folks, in terms of the mere grip, and approximately 1.2 off the pace. And so naturally that has led to the fact there, well, in fact, 2.2, I should say, in the middle sector. So not ideal for Patrick Shipos, who sees himself near enough 5 seconds off the top time. Danny Berejne, a 15.8, and that just goes to show if you're first out in these conditions, you're first home. And here at this point, Berejne will be enjoying that. I can tell you, Jack, that it's not going to stop raining for another 59 minutes. So this does suggest that this will be the end of qualifying. DRS has been disabled by race control. Well, I would say, Jack, that's all she wrote.
That's it for Q2 by the looks of it. So going through, Danny Berejne with that call to come out first on the track. He's finally shown why that can be good in many instances. Also, probably worthy of note as well for Danny Berejne is he is in the Haas pit box here in Mexico, which means when he comes out, he has a very short run to get to the end of the pit lane as well. So was able to use that as well to his advantage, get out a bit quicker than everyone else, get that track gap that he needed, and deliver the lap of a 15.8. And himself and Jake Benham, I tell you what, Jake Benham is looking pacey today. And of course, he took the win in Zandvoort when we again restarted the season. And he's looking really, really good here today at Mexico. Alfie Butcher as well. Brendan Lee in P4 again. He's very much in this championship fight, so don't discount him. But crucially, Barry and Jarno both getting through, and Lucas Blakely. But Nicholas Longe has a lot of work to do from P12 on the grid, if that is it. Now, I think, is that a car out on the circuit? It is, and Danny Berejne is saving us, George. He's coming out and giving us something to look at. Absolutely,
coming onto the track with the green tyres, the green banded intermediate tyres. And I think just coming out just to get his sights set in on this circuit. The more track time these drivers get, obviously the better. And bear in mind, we could yet see wet weather when we go racing later on this evening. So maybe this is just a case of Berejne just getting and sinking his teeth into the circuit again, which could yet give him an advantage later on. Who knows? I mean, being that little bit fresher, I think on these, you could say, unruly conditions, it can make a difference. And with the rain coming down, a great chance here for Berejne to really get his teeth stuck into this one. And given the fact that he took advantage this time, this just goes to show the intelligence behind a driver such as Danny Berejne. And this has certainly cultivated him improved performances this season. Had a very good start when taking P4 back in the Netherlands, P3 back at Brazil. That was his first podium of the season. Since then, P4 Hungaroring, P5 at Britain. Followed that up with a P13. That was his first time outside the top 10. Came back into the top 10 at Austria with a P10 on that occasion. Just outside at Japan, some of you might remember the incident he had with his teammate Alfie Butcher heading down towards the final chicane. And then it was a P14 at Imola. Sort of went off the boil a little bit during that 2-race period. But bounced back straight away, Jack, with a phenomenal result, did Alfie Butcher as well, to take P1. The Haas team in itself certainly have a sensational record when it comes back. I will allude to the fact indeed that obviously you've got to look at Haas as a very formidable force. But given the fact that Danny Berejne has all this experience, Jack, he can cultivate those big race performances. And going back to the start of the season, where of course he was at his richest in terms of form, the first 4 races, he wasn't outside the top 5. I think that is a great record.
It certainly is, and in ways he's been very unlucky in the rest of the race as well. You think back to Spa, he was in prime position to possibly go for the win in that race, and remember, he disconnected from P4 and had been saving up ERS the whole way through, had about 80% charge, was about to go on the attack on Brendan Lee, and disconnected heading across the start-finish line. So from there, and a couple of times before, he's been either caught up in incidents that weren't his fault or vice versa. So Berezne, when everything goes right for him, he is a formidable force to be reckoned with. Let's not forget as well, it was of course overshadowed by the title fight that we had going on at the time between Thomas Ronner and Barry Borman, but he actually won the final round last season while everything else was going on behind him, and he has got a win under his belt, but hasn't got one this season. So would like to change that, of course, probably even get himself a pole position here at Mexico, if at all possible. But he's looking pacey today. You'll be able to see now the difference in the intermediate times as he comes out of the final corner. Of course, we were on the 115.8s earlier, 114s earlier, and it's 123.852, and that is the difference in pace as the drivers run around. Not a bad idea, I think, for drivers to get laps under their belt here on the inters, because there's a high chance the weather will probably carry over into Q3.
Yeah, it could well do. And just to get your sights set in, certainly for those in the top 10, because obviously they'll be going through to the next session. And, you know, we got some pretty major losses there, Jack. I mean, Freddie Rasmussen, who's already retired. Nicholas Longuet out, of course, who's been on this recent stretch of really phenomenal form, taking the victory at Saudi Arabia after finishing P2 at Belgium. And now sees himself back in the fight. Of course, a winner at Japan as well. Jarno Watmere coming across the line. And he sets a 123.852 on those intermediate tyres. And if you guys want, you know, some idea as to the difference between that and the dry run, I could tell you there's 8 seconds of difference between the fastest dry runs to the fastest wet runs that we're now seeing on those intermediate tyres. So that just goes to show the volume of difference that weather can indeed make, and that of the compound itself as well. But yes, alluding to those shocks, Jack, Longuet, again, I mean, you know, naturally, we've got to be careful, I suppose, when we look at performances, certainly in these conditions, because it is a case of timing. But at the same time, I think, again, he will be disappointed, as will Rasmussen.
Absolutely, yeah, and Rasmussen didn't miss out by much. It was about 100th of a second he was out by, but his teammate Josh Ito did manage to just about sneak in there. Longuet as well, he was the second placed car on the track compared to Barry. Barry got through, he didn't, so it's that's the difference. Even in your garage position, even if you come out behind your teammate, you know, you may not necessarily get the best track conditions, and that was the case for Nicholas Longuet, and he was unfortunately not able to get the lap together in the end, of course. I have seen a few of you in chat asking, are we restarting the lobby? Absolutely we are. We do it anyway every single week, because you may notice the penalties popping up for illegal blocking. I think myself and George, we don't mention it anymore because we're so used to seeing it that it sort of goes out of our vision. So,
yes.
Yeah, but yes, we can confirm there's 100% going to be a lobby restart. So any illegal blocking penalties are going to be removed. And our wonderful lobby host for this evening, Yoni Tormala, will be setting the grid for this evening as well. And we have to say that it was an unusual situation with the drivers in the lobby at 18:59 UK time, a minute before we were due to go live. So we have to call that the Yoni Tormala effect.
Yes, I think so. And, you know, he has certainly been a tremendous servant for us in terms of setting up the lobby. We're now seeing the drivers make their way through the circuit once again. Patrick Sheepos, we're currently seeing on screen, invalidating that run on the intermediate tyres nonetheless. Danny Berejne, I think, will be delighted, though. He can just enjoy his time out on track. But just to remind you of the top 10 right now: Danny Berejne, Jake Benham, Alfie Butcher, Brendan Lee, Thomas Ronhard, Barry Burman, Lucas Blakely, Alvaro Caraton, Jarno Watmere, and Josh Ito. They are the 10 drivers going through to Q3. We're going to be saying goodbye to Freddie Rasmussen, Nicholas Longuet, Wilson Hughes, Ishmael Fassi, and Patrick Sheepos. They will not be going through to the pole shootout that we're going to be bringing you very, very shortly. The best lap registered of 1:15.837. And Jake Benham, as you allude to, again, back in the sharp end. Second place after being shown up at the top end in Q1, and he was only 48 thousandths off the top even this time around. You could factor in that perhaps that might have been down to the interchangeable conditions. Remember, Berejnay was the first car to cross the line and be the first car out on track as well, so essentially enjoyed dry track conditions more than anybody else towards the very end of quali. But nevertheless, they will meet again heading through towards the next session. But yeah, great statement of intent. Berejnay, again, as I said, back to his, I would say, brilliant and certainly consistent best anyway. But we're now seeing the checkered flags wave across the grid order, folks. We're going to be heading very shortly into Q3. And of course, we would like you guys to let us know who your pole position predictions are. We will go through them a little bit later on. Jack, have you got any thoughts of your own as to who could grab pole this evening?
It's very tricky because of that wet session to sort of see who's on pace here. But I mean, early indications, you can't discount young Jake Benham, I think, from this one. That he seems to have a little bit of fire in his belly this evening to try and get himself a pole position. Always does go well here, in fairness, does Jake Benham. And has the win under his belt from Zandvoort. Came from 18th on the grid to take that. But yeah, I think Jake Benham might be a solid tip for this one.
Yeah, he could well be. He's one to watch. And I tell you what, folks, what an achievement it would be. Of course, Jake Benham, who we all know as the All-Star, certainly one of the rising stars that we have enjoyed this season. One win to his name, as we've alluded to. That's been his only podium as well, and has laid down a fastest lap in race trim. Has yet to actually achieve a pole position, though. So this would be a wonderful occasion for him if he was to bring that to the forefront. As we now bring an end to the session, it's Danny Berejnay, fastest man on track. He's not on pole, not yet anyway, but he's the fastest man in Q2. Jake Benham in second, Alfie Butcher in third place with Brendan Lee in fourth, Thomas Ronhart in fifth, Barry Burroman sixth, Lucas Blakely seventh, Alvaro Caraton eighth, Jana Watmere in ninth with Josh Edo in 10th place. We're going to say goodbye to Freddie Rasmussen, Nicholas Longe, Wilson Hughes and Ishmael Fassi, Patrick Shepos out of qualifying, but nevertheless we will meet them again when we go racing later on after Q3. So there we have it, folks. That is the end of proceedings here in Q2. Again, we'll allude back to the shocks. Nicholas Longe and Freddie Rasmussen. Of course, we allude to Rasmussen being always the bridesmaid, never the bride. He's now got an extraordinary amount of work to do here, Jack, to bring himself back into the mix. But, you know, we've seen drivers time and time again put on the alternate strap. It can sometimes open an opportunity rather than close the door.
And that's the beauty, I think, of this game so far, is that we have seen alternate strategies pay off. It's not something that was really possible on the previous generation of game, but you can see now that it could possibly be that. It is raining even harder in Q3, so we could be on full wets here for Q3. So that now sort of throws up a little bit of a spanner as to we don't really know the wet conditions pace here. But it is very, very wet out there. Still intermediates being donned by Alvaro Caraton, who's the first car who will come out onto the circuit here. But a wet Q3. Now, it's been a little while since we've had one of those. So we'll be interested to see now who has the pace in the wet. I mean, when we talk about wet conditions, and there's only really one man you can think of when we talk about wet conditions, and it's Jarno. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we can allude back to his famous performances. I want to earmark the United States Grand Prix, Jack, where, of course, he pulled off a sensational strategical performance. But he hasn't just done it once there, is he? He's done it twice. He did it as well in F1 Esports. There's some affinity he has with the American circuit, but we're only just next door here in Mexico, so who knows, maybe maybe a rub of the lamp and the genie will pop out once again. We're just watching Alvaro Caraton make his way around the circuit. This time, Jack, Danny Berejnay isn't the first man out. He's actually the only car in the pits.
Now, what is he thinking about here, Danny Berejnay? Does he not want to go for an initial run, or he's thinking up with something there? Because that's very unusual to not see Danny Berejnay be the first car out on the circuit. Either that, he's going to let everyone do their first runs, and when they all come in, he'll go out. So I think that's possibly Danny Berejnay's plan there. But the first car out there is actually Alvaro Caraton, who snuck himself into Q3 there as well. A little while since we've seen Caraton up here as well. Again, it's sort of been. He's always been that driver who's consistently in those points, but again has those standout performances that you can think back to. We think back to season 27 when he took his first ever victory in Kota that time in season 27, and of course has gone on to take many a podium, a couple of pole positions as well. So Caraton definitely one to keep your eye on as well, but it's a tricky one today, and we'll see who's got the pace in the sort of intermediate wet conditions. As we can see now, Caraton going through turn number 1. You'll see now we were in the 114s in Q1. You'll see now we're going to be looking in the low 20s at this point when we come up to the end of this, and it's hard to predict really what this weather is going to do. Are we looking at rain for the rest of this, or could it dry up towards the end?
It could well do. Keeping our eyes peeled on the clouds, folks, above. I can tell you that Brendan Lee, well, Caraton set a 31-1 in the first sector. Brendan Lee's done a 31-0 in sector 1, so he's finding some really good pace. Thomas Ronha well out of the pace, 38.7 in the first sector. But Jarno Opmeer, you said he was good in the wet, Jack. He's gone fastest of all in sector 1. As we now ride on board with Alvaro Caraton, who's now making his way now down through towards the latter sector, heading out to the Avalo Straits, and now down into Forest Sol, where he'll then meet the Peraltada soon after this, making his way out of turn 13, 14, 15 coming up as well, 16 and 17 will tee up a run down towards the start-finish line to commence. Will certainly finish his first flying lap as he makes his way up towards the line now. In comes Caraton, and it certainly positions him at the top as you'd expect. But Jarno Opmeer purple in the second sector as we now see Josh Edo coming through. Brendan Lee goes to the top with a 124. Let's keep our eyes peeled for Jarno Opmeer, who's now heading through the final corner. Now this time, purple in sector 1 and 2. He did have purple in sector 2, but he's got a purple lap anyway. Fastest man in Q3 so far. Blakely has stolen the purple middle sector time, a 31.7 already here in the first half of Q3 with 7 minutes and 50 to go. Track improving. Does this mean the times are going to get thicker? They're going to get faster. In comes Blakely, heading down now towards the start-finish line, all dressed in papaya, the current F1 Esports champ, second place. And well, just under 0.2 of a second behind Jarno Opmeer. Goes to show the Flying Dutchman. He's dialed in this time, Jack.
200ths, I would say, George. Incredibly close between Jarno Opmeer and Lucas Blakely, the two times
yes,
up at the top of the order. So two of them on a 24.653, Jarno on a 0.631. The two times separated by just a couple of hundredths of a second. But another man who's out there on a time lap is Danny Beresnay. He really wants a result today as he heads down through the middle sector. Ronar invalidated his run, so he did not get a chance. So he's going to have to go around again. But Jarno Opmeer provisional pole from Lucas Blakely, from Alfie Butcher and Brendan Lee, as we wait now to see Danny Beresnay. Could he spring a surprise here as he exits the final corner, gets on the power? It's a decent looking lap from Danny Beresnay, I can tell you that, as he crosses the line, and he goes fifth fastest for the moment, 24.952, so it needs a little bit more time. So right now, it's the battle of Jarno Opmeer versus Lucas Blakely, the reigning F1 Esports champion, versus the two-time F1 Esports champion. And Barry Borman pulled a 24.5. Now, this could be his most crucial pole of the season so far.
It could well be. 76 thousandths up on Jarno Opmeer. You can see it from the graphic in the top left, folks. Do apologise, my timing screen didn't update. It was showing 0.2 of a second between Blakely and Opmeer. It was, in fact, 200ths. The gap minute between the pair of them. Barry Burman for the Scuderia Ferrari team that have yet to win a team's title here in PSGL. Mercedes have dominated over the years. Season 27, 29, 30 and 33. McLaren, the only other team to take a team's title in PSGL. And in terms of the Drivers' Championship, of course, Barry Burman looking to defend his title this season. Was 4 times a pole sitter and currently holds, I think, according to my data, the most number of pole positions in a season, that being 4 up to now, with 4 wins as well. Podiums currently stretching to 5 that season, and 0 fastest laps, leading to the 86 points to the accrue to become champion. But yes, Barry Burman back at the sharp end. and will no doubt be looking to try and enlist his best still. And with 5 minutes to go, we will be seeing them come back out very, very soon indeed. I can tell you this, that Alfie Butcher has just set a purple first sector, so I'm going to keep my eyes peeled on him, Jack, because he's looking well and truly dialed in. Remember, drivers do prefer to do multiple runs on one set of tyres, and I think this is exactly what Butcher has in mind. But he's not the only one to do this, though, because Jarno Watmere is doing the same. He's coming out of the final corner. He's going to try and topple Burman. He does topple Burman. A switcheroo at the top as Burman lays claim to top place, as now Lucas Blakely looks to try and follow suit. Alfie Butcher also on a sprint as well. It's all changed up at the sharp end. We've still got 4.5 minutes to go. Butcher is coming through the final corner now, goes fifth fastest, not able to improve much more than what he already has. Lucas Blakely, however, goes to the top himself. Wowee! Former champions littered in the top three. It's Blakely, Otmere and Burman. A fairy tale here in Mexico.
Oh, it was a brilliant middle sector from Lucas Blakely, but they're separated by just hundredths of a second between these two. This is a titanic battle for pole position here at Mexico, and you can't take your eyes off it. Lucas Blakely, Jarno Watmere, and Barry Bourmand, your top three. But now this is a chance to see, as we head towards the dying bits of qualifying here, if anybody can spring even more. Caraton back out on the circuit on fresh inters. Jake Benham as well, also out there. Brendan Lee on his way back to the pit lane by the looks of it here, but this is going to be some fight to the end of qualifying here. Lucas Blakely out here. This is a big race for him now. 21 points off of the championship lead, of course, in that instant in Saudi Arabia, has dropped him down further behind than he would have liked, but he has a chance to possibly just scrape his way back in. But it's a dogfight between Lucas Blakely and Jarno Watmere, with Barry Bourmand in the mix as well. That was Barry's first lap as well, so you have to wonder, does Barry have a bit more to give in that Ferrari? But anybody's guess as to who's going to steal pole position, but you can't. This is brilliant stuff to watch, these two going at it. But another man who's on a push net right now, didn't get a lap initially in. That was good enough, but Jake Benham on his run now.
Yeah, he is. Now, folks, I want you to get involved. Usually we get a bit of a lull in between 2 laps in qualifying in Q3, so now's the time for me to ask you, who's taking pole position here in Q3? Let us know in the live chat, folks. I want to hear from you. There is one sole car on a flying lap. It's Jake Benham. Let us know. I could see Lucas in the live chat. He's getting a hat tip. Goatmere, that of course being Jarno Watmere, a tip there as well. Jake Benham, says John Wilson. We've got Otmere, and we've got loads of you. Keep it coming, folks. Absolutely sensational. Even people saying I'm going to get pole. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. Ronha getting a tip as well. Lucas Blakely, Alfie Butcher, even Otis, he's not even here. We've also got more further down, more for Ronha, more for Otmere. Now let's take a look here at the flying laps that are about to come out, because Jake Benham is on his way to nailing in yet another lap, and he's already beyond 6/10 up. He is looking really strong here. It certainly will elevate him off the bottom if he can string this together. Coming through now the final corners here at Mexico, the Forest Sol and Peraltada round the final corner now at turn 17. Jake Benham, the fastest man in Q1. He sprints through towards the line. 4th fastest here for Jake Benham, and he's got time to go again, Jack.
He does indeed. A big slide through the final corners. There's time on the table there for Jake Benham. Caraton coming through the middle sector now as well. He's 2.5 tenths up on his best sector 2 time. So Caraton looking to elevate himself from P10. 4 tenths up in the middle sector is Alvaro Caraton. So looking really nice to improve himself from P10. Get him up into sort of Thomas Run or Alfie Butcher territory if he can hook this up now. Comes towards the final corner now. He's going to be aiming for that line. Drifts it through the final corner now. Back on the power gently, and again doesn't get the wheel spin that Jake Benham did. Crosses the start finish line. Goes 3rd fastest. Alvaro Caraton. Excellent lap from the Spaniard, and he'll be very happy with that effort there. And we'll wait to see now the rest of the times come through in just a few moments time. Jake Benham building up for another lap here, but great lap from Alvaro Caraton. But you sort of feel like it's the calm before the proverbial storm here as they all line up to begin their final runs. Josh Edo, the first of those cars who will get us underway.
Look at this, folks. A sight to behold. Josh Edo is taking a plethora of cars through the final sector. You can just see them on the track map down the bottom. They're all in a queue. They're all in a line. We're going to have to keep our eyes peeled as to who's going to go purple in what sector. I can tell you this, that Alvaro Caraton went purple in the first sector. which is absolutely unbelievable. Credit to Carreton, of course, a stalwart at Williams for so many years, but his time will not improve on what he already has, because he's already beyond he's already beyond a second in the first sector already, so I can't see his next lap being necessarily an improvement, as we're now seeing Josh Ito make his way down through towards turn 1 now, and heading down in towards the Solana S's, out to the Principale, and he'll then tee up a run heading through towards this next left and right, a very dogged sector out of turn 3, as he now opens up the throttle and sends it down the Transera. Of course, DRS will become available as well for these drivers to use at those straights, as he now heads down through towards the right-hander at turn 6 very shortly. Out of turn 5 first, though, and then in towards turn 6, and it'll head him down then in towards the S's, heading through towards turn 7, 8, and 9. DRS detection point is around here as well, but they won't be able to use any of it under wet conditions, as now Ito makes his way through this next slalom section. Right-hander coming up next. Very tricky in the wet weather, and the curbs are going to be oh so slippery. Josh Ito, the Welshman, representing the Red Bull team alongside teammate and compadre, that of Freddie Rasmussen. I can tell you that Brendan Lee is the fastest of all in the first sector, so we are going to be seeing some improvements on the times we have already seen. Ito setting a 31.120 already in the first sector. He's invalidated the lap as well, but Brendan Lee certainly hasn't, and neither is Jarno Opmeer, who has gone purple in sector 2. In comes Brendan Lee, heading through the final corner now. The Alfa Romeo looking to light things up as he comes across the line. Fastest for Brendan Lee, a two-time champion, hits the front end. Blakely now second. Ronhar goes fastest. Jarno Opmeer topples Thomas Ronhar for the top time. Across the line goes that of Barry Burman. Blakely to the top. Sensational. A 123.86.867. No one else has done a 123. It's Lucas Blakely. He's home and hosed, and over 2 tenths clear up at the top, Jack Kinnan.
What a lap from Lucas Blakely. 23.867. That was perfection from the current F1 Esports champion, and he needed that lap at the very end to have himself an opportunity. But look at that top 3. Lucas Blakely and Barry Borman, the former teammates, share the front row. Jarno Opmeer sharing the second row with Thomas Ronhar. Jake Benham and Alfie Butcher line up P5 and P6. Brendan Lee P7. Beresnay, Carreton and Josh Ito, your top 10. That was staggering from Lucas Blakely, and I'm sure he will be over the moon with that lap. So again, we didn't tip him for pole, but what a way to do it. That was emphatic from the current reigning F1 Esports champion.
Absolutely sensational, and a massive time gap. And given the fact that he's certainly a man to watch, the current F1 Esports champion has already been a PSGL champion as well. He took it back in season 31, only registered 1 pole that season, but an almighty 4 wins to take him to the title during a very shortened season. God, is there anything we can say against that of Lucas Blakely? But again, it's the top 3 protagonists again, Jack. All 3 of them winning PSGL titles as well. It's just a feast for your eyes. Folks, we're going to be right back. We're going to take a commercial break. Don't go away. Well, welcome back, folks, to PSGL, and I tell you what, things never get boring, do they, Jack Kinnan? Lucas Blakely back on top with Barry Burman joining him on the front row. and Jarno Wopmir in third place. And it has to be said as well, we've got to throw Thomas Ronhaar in the mix. He's in fourth as well. Brendan Lee, again, very, very promising performance. And you've got the two Hasses in the mix too, but you just can't take your eyes off the top three. You've got there two, champions in F1 esports. Three of them are PSGL champions, and it's essentially a battle of the Titans here at Mexico that we have on our hands here, Jack. A good start, I think, is going to be necessary. Blakely with the advantage, considering he has pole.
Yeah, and now there are occasions where I would say that pole is an advantage. I'm not so sure about Mexico. It's one of the longest runs to turn number one here. So he needs an incredible start to stay in front here of the guys behind. But as well, starting on pole might necessarily be an advantage here, but again, we've seen it time and time again. Being second or third on the final lap will probably be your advantage as long as you can save up ERS correctly and stay in the DRS. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting one. But yes, that top three is incredible. That is all of our previous champions are in that top three. Barry Borman, Lucas Blakely, and Jarno Wopmir. All of the current PSGL champions inside the top three. Thomas Ronhaar, of course, he was the championship protagonist last season, battling it out with Barry Borman to the very end as well in P4. So again, this is going to be, I think we're set up for some spiciness, I think, George. We've got Barry and Lucas on the front row, former teammates, but now rivals. And then, to add even more spiciness into the fray, you've got Jarno and Thomas sharing the second row.
It's magic. It's majesty, folks. And naturally, with the battle of for the championship currently in full flow, you've got essentially the two chasing the championship. They're currently first and second in the championship. A mere point separates them. Buraman has finished behind Wopmir on, I would say, all of the races in the last, going all the way back to Qatar was the last time that, in fact, Barry Buraman finished ahead of Wopmir, and it was P9 and P10 they finished on that occasion too. So, ever since then, Jarno has been the form card, has been the form player. Out of all that, essentially, in the last 5 races, has finished ahead of Buraman and of course, as a consequence, achieved more points. Therefore, that has led to him leading the championship. Yeah, and again, with 3 rounds to go, including this one, there's just such an opportunity now for a huge title fight. It's a case that Buraman now needs to break the hoodoo here, Jack, 'cause it seems that the Gypsy's curse has hit him again, because going back years previous, we talk about his record, his form at the start of his season. He's had it again this year, but that latter form is what's let him down, and it's letting him down again, Jack.
We don't know what it is, but it's happened every season. We have the Barry dominance in the first half of the season, and then the drop-off, which ultimately puts himself under more pressure when it gets to the end of a title fight. Now, it went his way last season, but it was the first time that it had done again on previous occasions, and it's incredible to see how it continues to happen every single season. But the question is, can he bounce back again this week? He starts from second on the grid. Yes, Lucas Blakely is on pole, but Lucas Blakely is 21 points back in the championship. All that Barry is going to be thinking about is that he is starting in front of Jarno, and that's why he needs to stay there to start, again, retake that championship lead with a couple of rounds to go. The other crucial thing as well is neither of them have their teammates up there. You've got Nicholas Longe starting P12 for Ferrari, and the other Mercedes is Marcel Kiefer down in 16th, so they don't have the support of their teammates up towards the front end, but that may come back to help them later. Let's say one of them may end up caught behind the other on a strategy call. It's happened before. We've seen it happen, and it was an impact in the title fight last season, so keep your eyes out for that as well. But both of the alphas are together up there, and Brendan Lee needs a result today.
Remember, they worked together back at Qatar. That is what led to Brendan Lee taking his first and only race win this season. Got to allude to the fact as well that Red Bull, P10 and P11 as well, they've got a job to do. Of course, Ido starting 10th, Rasmussen starting from that 11th place. Going to give you guys a reminder. I know there's a few of you in the live chat calling for the standings, so I'm going to show you these again. These are the current standings after round 12 at Jeddah. So the current up-to-date ones here. Jarno Wopmir 74 points, Barry Buraman 73, Nicholas Longe 60, Brendan Lee also on 60, Lucas Blakely 53. He needs a win today for sure. Lucas Blakely to bring himself closer and closer to the sharp end. Alfie Butcher is there in 6th. Danny Berejnay 7th. Jake Benham in 8th. Kiefer in 9th. We've got Thomas Ronnar in 10th. Otis Lawrence 11th with Wilson Hughes 12th. Ulas Ozildirim in 13th. Ishmael Fassi 14th. Fabrizio Donoso in 15th. Dylan Warren 16th with Simon Weigang 17th. Freddie Rasmussen 18th. Istvan Pukki in 19th. Josh Ido in 20th place. Ferrari currently controlling the affairs up in the top end of the team's championship. And of course, with Burman being where he is, gives them a great chance to advance their cause. Still yet to win a team's title in PSGL. It's been dominated by Mercedes 4 times. They have taken the crown in 5 seasons of PSGL PCF1. The only other team to take the victory was back in season 31, and that was the McLaren team, who did it with 7 wins and 8 podiums, and with a score as well of 153 points. The biggest points margin, though, that we have had this season was actually back in season 27, 211 points. Going to Mercedes back in season 27, albeit now this calendar being as it is going to stretch now for what seems to be 15 rounds, certainly this season, so there's still an opportunity for more points. Should Mercedes or even Ferrari enlist a dominant spell, there's a good chance we could smash that team's championship season 27 point standing. So there we go. Still lots on offer, folks, at home, and I hope as well, if you're enjoying what you're seeing here at PSGL here tonight, please make sure, of course, you leave a subscribe as well as leaving a like, because it really does help this championship out, and also stay up to date with everything PSGL on social media at Premier Sim GL on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, it's everywhere. There is a website as well. You can stay up to date with everything concerning PSGL as well, in terms of the standings, in terms of the results. It'll all be on there. Results and standings tend to get updated post-stream, so you will not see the standings after this stream, because they will be updated after the stewards' decisions have been made. And also, if you want to check me out as well, my name is George Morgan at George Morgan TV. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok as well. I generally post stuff on there from time to time. Also available on LinkedIn and Threads, everywhere. You name it, it's all the same at George Morgan TV. Jack, you want to share your socials too?
Yes, with the beauty of these graphics as well, if you didn't hear us, they're right underneath our beautiful faces. Well, George's beautiful face, forget about me. But you've got at Jack C. Combs underneath. That's my at Jack C. Combs for Twitter/X, or Jack_Canan for the Instagram if you want to follow me over there as well. I can tell you, all the drivers are in the lobby. We're just waiting for everybody to ready up. And again, we're waiting for Joni Tormala to do the unenviable task of setting the grid for this race as well. You've got to make sure that everybody's in the right place, or else there will be complaints, of course. And the randomized weather as well, so the drivers don't know what the weather conditions are going to be. They're not going to be carried over from the previous session. So that was again decided by the drivers a couple of weeks ago, that they wanted the weather to be randomized, or again set to dynamic, rather than copying the weather across from the previous session, because it was delaying everybody, and also everyone's in the same boat. So might as well just slap it on dynamic and see what happens. So they're all going to be waiting to see. They're not going to know until they load into the session. No formation lap either, because there's still a glitch with the tire temperatures. So we'll be jumping straight into the action, which can be tricky for some drivers as well, because you've spent all that time in qualifying, you now have a chance to decompress, and then all of a sudden you don't even get a formation lap to warm up, you're straight into the race. So Lucas Blakely has got to think about that as well. Guys outside the top 10, they're going to be thinking about alternate strategies. What can I do to make up track position here? So don't be surprised to see guys like Nicolas Longe, or guys like Marcel Kiefer, guys like Freddie Rasmussen, who's in P11. He might try something different to everybody, but don't be surprised to see Nicolas Longe and co go early, possibly on a soft compound tire to gain track position, or go on those harder tires and go deep into this race.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, Jack. Obviously, that's something we've seen time and time again, folks. Like I said, please make sure you check out all the socials. Make sure you hit the red button. Of course, I'm not talking about the Sky red button. I'm on about the subscribe button down below here at PSGL. Stay up to date with whenever we go live. Lots to be had. Lots of action still to come as we await to go to the circuit. Of course, we are going to be very shortly racing around the circuit, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And there you can see it in all its grandeur, and no signs of any rain on this occasion, folks. But this is a time for you to get your predictions in the live chat. Let us know. Jack, I'm going to throw it to you. What are your predictions? Let me know who's your race winner.
I'm going to go with Barry to win this race. I think he's going to come through, but it's going to be a titanic scrap right to the flag.
A titanic scrap. You're not going to give me a winner?
I get Barry.
Oh, you got me, Barry. Sorry,
That's my winner.
Misheard that.
Yeah.
Barry Burremand is going to be Jack Canan's race winner. We've got a Wilson win. We've got Jarno, Ido, Barry as well. We've got a Verstappen. Verstappen's not racing here, unfortunately, folks. We have got Jarno, Brendan, and Lucas. Jarno going to cook me, says somebody. No, we're not cooking anybody, folks. This is against the rules. We've got Jarno, Lucas. What else have we got? Jack Canan. Jack, they reckon you're going to win.
Easy.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. You're underrated, Jack, as a driver.
That's why I'm here. We discussed this last week. That's why we're here, is that we're too good. So they wouldn't have let us race. We have to commentate.
We are too good, and that's the reason. PSGL would ban us for different reasons, though. As the lights now go red, and now all 5 lights will be lit here at Mexico. We're going to hit pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Lucas Blakely getting away well off the line. Barry Burremand in second place. Blakely's start was unbelievable. He careers away. Thomas Runha also there too as Jarno Watmere comes under fire from one Barry Burremand. The two greats. Jarno, though, finding traction, heading out of the first corner. Looks from the outside of Lucas Blakely, who had the tiger line heading through turn 2. Jake Benham with an almighty rise battles back against Thomas Runha as they head down now. The Transira straight, heading down now in towards the right-hander and the left. They come through the left first. Ido already fighting it out with Danny Berejne. Still side by side there between Butcher and Benham. They're in the top 5. They scrap. Butcher has Benham's number and is now up to 4th place, Jack. A stellar showing, though. Blakely, the quickest off the line.
Yeah, Blakely did the right call there. Started on the soft tyre to get that extra grip off the line. He's away out front. Jarno challenged him towards there. Rasmussen had a bit of an issue. He drops to the tail of the field. But Barry had a shocker there in turns 1 and 2. Just got placed in the wrong area and got eaten up going through turns 1 and 2 as Brendan Lee now is in front of Jake Benham. He's on the medium tyres as well. So Barry now needs to reset. He's on the hard tyre, as is Jake Benham, as is Jarno. So there are 3 different tyres inside that top 3. But Blakely is away and clear, 1.6 seconds in front of Jarno Watmere. Thomas Tronar now on the attack on Jarno Watmere. He's on the mediums, of course, don't forget as well. Marcel Kiefer, he looks like he may have picked up damage on that first lap as Wilson Hughes moves past Josh Ido down the straight. Wilson, who's on the soft tyre, making good use of them. They'll get him on the brakes into the first corner, and he goes through up to P9. But that was the right call from Blakely. I think, George, as unfortunately Freddie is not going to see the end of this race once again, but Blakely did the right thing there, starting on pole. If he didn't start on the softs, he would be at a major disadvantage, but he's getting that track position and using them really well.
Yeah, he certainly is. So look back there as well at Brendan Lee's spectacular overtake. We saw it heading down in towards the final sector, opened up the door, heading down the back straight out of the S section at the Avalo, and that is how you do it, folks. Brendan Lee, a 2-time champion, for that very reason now. And incredible effort as we're seeing them come together again. And this time we've got a squabble up in the top end of things too. Jarno Watmere and Thomas Ronha back together again. Frenemies, I think I'm going to start calling them. I think heading through the final sector. Watmere, though, managing the pace. And bear in mind, on the hard tyres, has got to try and keep Ronha in behind. Alfie Butcher as well, down in 4th, watching all this unfold. Now, Butcher on the softs. He needs to make a play here, Jack.
He does, yeah, and he is in the slipstream now. I don't think there's going to be much fight put up by Jarno here with the long straight. Ronar is going to be able to get through here in the slipstream of his frenemy, let's say. His DRS not quite open yet. He's going to look to the inside in towards turn 1. He is on the medium tyres. He does have the extra grip to go down the inside into turn 1. Jarno leaves the door open for him, doesn't fight him. His fight is not with him. Wilson Hughes goes through on Barry Bormand as well, so it continues to go downhill for Barry. But again, Wilson is on those soft tyres. Alfie Butcher now up behind Jarno, not quite able to find a space to go through here now. Patience being shown by these drivers today. Different strategies mixing it up here. Brendan Lee on the mediums as well, trying to make his way through. But again, some of these guys playing the long game here. The hard compound tires, Jarno, Jake, Barry, thinking long here as you could see Wilson going through on the inside. Again, it'd be frustrating for Barry that he lost those track positions there, but again, the two driver, a couple of drivers in front of him, he knows they're going to have to pit before him. So hopefully that may come back to him later. He'll be thinking, but Alfie Butcher, desperate to get through on Jarno Watmir now, has to, because those softs will die off very quickly.
They certainly will. They round now the next left out of the Forest Soul, heading out of turn 13, 14 and 15. In behind Brendan Lee, also having a very measured start on the medium tyres. We've got a plethora of different tyres out on track. The majority, though, going on the hards. And I tell you what, Red Bull actually adopting that similar strat. Already retiring Freddie Rasmussen. That's our first DNF of the race as well. Brendan Lee just getting out of the aero of that of Alfie Butcher in behind. Quite happy to just stay in wait. This isn't ideal for Butcher, Jack, because, of course, remember, on the soft tyres, needs to start overtaking this bunch. And certainly in this position, certainly leaves himself slightly exposed. John Evans getting ahead of Patrick Schipos further down as well. Heading back up to the sharp end of things. Butcher now heading down through towards the next left. And Jarno not doing badly on these hards because he's staying in tow of Thomas Ronhaar. Was probably the right decision, Jack, to let him pass because he can just use the DRS here to protect him from Alfie Butcher.
Yeah, it's mature racing from a lot of these guys. They're not sending it down the inside of turn number one because it'll cost them each other time. And again, if you lose the draft around here, if you lose that slipstream, you're very, very vulnerable as they come through the S section now. Jarno just, again, staying in the DRS of Thomas Ronhaar in front. Alfie Butcher quite happy to sit behind and follow as well. Brendan Lee also doing the same in P5 again. Big for his championship now. Needs to start outscoring guys like Barry, guys like Jarno as well. Nicholas Longe has not made any progress. He's actually lost the place. He's down to 13th place on the hard tyres, and not ideal for Nicholas Longe there as they come across the start-finish line now. You'll see Alfie Butcher, he's almost hidden behind Jarno here as he comes down towards turn number one. Alfie now looking to the inside of Otmir now. Does he have enough to get alongside here as they head in towards turn one? He's side by side with Jarno here up the inside. Jarno not yielding though, around the outside they go, leaving each other just enough room. That's good racing between Alfie Butcher and Jarno Watmir there, and Alfie gets through on the outside, but now Brendan Lee, he fancies a chance now on the outside line. He might get the two of them here if he thinks about it, looks to the inside but not quite, and he gets the position on Jarno Watmir as well. But great racing there, good, clean, and again, a little bit of elbows out, but you like to see that.
Yeah, fantastic moment to say the least, and certainly got it done in grandiose fashion. We saw, of course, Butcher heading out of turn 3, out in front of Jarno Watmir. That opened the door for Brendan Lee to then make a move around the outside of Jarno Watmir. Used the traction heading out of turn 3 down the Transera straight and opened the door as he liked, and moved himself up into P4. So a fantastic move, certainly for that of the two Alfa Romeo drivers, starting to move up now, 2nd and 4th in this classification. Ronhaar on the mediums, Brendan Lee sharing the medium tyre strat too, so they'll have to manage when they pit stop, because they will be sharing, I'd imagine, the same pit stop window as each other. So it's a job to know, or certainly will be a decision made by Alfa, I can imagine, as to who's going to jump first. Blakely, massive start here, Jack. Soft tyres, albeit, but 2.5 seconds out in front.
Yeah, now Ronhaar is starting to dip into that a little bit now. Now he's maintaining it, but you can see the train starting to form. Now, the crucial thing for Jarno now, he's the lead. That is the first of the lead hard runners, as you can see, Jarno. The crucial thing for him now is the next car that's on the same strategy as Jake Benham. Now, he may be in an AlphaTauri, but he is Jarno's teammate when we talk about F1 Esports teams. So that is now exactly what he wants to see. Next car on the hard tyres is Barry Bouremand, as Ismail Fassi, Nicholas Longe. They're going at it in the middle sector here, side by side between Fassi and Longe. Longe trying to gain the position back. He lost earlier, and you can see now just getting at the elbows out through that sector. And again, you can see Pedreño pounces, and he goes through into P13, but Longe getting the position back that he lost earlier, but he hasn't really made any progress. Now you can see the softs are starting to fade. Ronhaar has eaten about 4/10 into that gap out front, so the softs not working as well as they were earlier, and you can see now definitely that gap starting to come down very quickly. But again, Blakely has made them work very nicely, has maintained that gap and hasn't had to push out there.
No, not at all. Longe holding on to 12th place. He's on hard tyres as well. Pedreño, the ultimate opportunist in that scrap. Fassi, though, is going to come straight back at him here. Stays in the aero, as we now see a move at the sharp end as well. Brendan Lee up to 3rd now, ahead of Alfie Butcher. And the two Alfa Romeos are now bound at the hip there in the top 3. So this is working. This is sort of like Qatar, you would think. Naturally, they can extend longer on those mediums than that of Blakely up at the sharp end. And look at the deficit, Jack. Ronhaar 1.7 away. Remember, that gap was 2.5 not too long ago.
Barry Borman making the move, trying to go around the outside of his old teammate Wilson Hughes. They get the elbows out and Barry makes the move as Danny Beresnay might try to come through on the inside. The softs are fading fast and Beresnay makes the move on Wilson Hughes through the middle sector there. Barry had to get that move done and he goes through and now starts to chase down Jake Benham and Jarno Watmere. So now had to do that. 1.5 seconds between Lucas Blakely and Thomas Ronar out front. The medium tyres now, but the two Alfa Romeos are together on the circuit now. Shades of Qatar coming through, as George mentioned. Alfie Butcher hanging in there very nicely on those soft tyres in the draft of the cars in front. Then it's Jarno Watmere and Jake Benham just behind them. Then it's Barry Borman, Danny Beresnay, Wilson Hughes and Josh Ito, the top 10 currently as they come across the start-finish line. Will the Alphas decide to swap here? Brendan Lee on the charge, moves to the inside. Ronar lets him go, and Brendan Lee now sets after Lucas Blakely here. And Brendan Lee, I tell you what, this is a big race for him when we talk about championship-wise, and he could have a chance to bring that deficit down. But again, he's on the alternate strategy compared to Jarno, compared to Barry, compared to Lucas. So this will all come to a head later. But now he's loving life on the medium tyres, chasing down Lucas Blakely.
Yeah, there's a big fight happening down in the midfield as well. Wilson Hughes right in the thick of it too. Caraton goes in deep here, heading through out of the Transera into the next dogged chicane section, heading out of Solana into Transera, into the S's now after the hairpin bends, heading out of turn 6 and down through towards the S's. Caraton pulling off a sensational move. Wilson Hughes unfortunately getting clouded up in all that as well. And I can tell you now, Brendan Lee already now within DRS on Lucas Blakely. The medium tyres going to work now. The crossover has been discovered. Take a look at this. Again, I'll say it, shades of Qatar. The two Alfa Romeos working in tandem. Ron Haar letting his teammate go on the attack. The two-time F1 Esports champion and also in the PSGL championship fight, Brendan Lee hunting down now Lucas Blakely, the current champion of F1 Esports. A battle of two GOATs, two of the greatest we have seen in F1 Esports racing. Now making his way down through towards turn 1, Brendan Lee. Jarno Watmere, you can see in the distance, still the highest runner on the hard tyres. Remember, his strategy should come to fruition later in the race. But look at Brendan Lee, Jack. He is fighting, biting and eating into that delta time and time again here on lap 9, now 36.
Yeah, you would expect that when Brendan Lee does get by, Lucas will be straight into the pits. So we'll see what McLaren decide to do here. But the crucial thing for the hard runners here of Jarno Watmere and Jake Benham, Barry is 2 seconds behind. Can't close that gap here because he doesn't have the DRS and he's under pressure from Danny Beresnay, from Josh Ito and all those guys behind. So a lot of work ahead for Barry Borman after that lap 1 sort of incident where he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So now you can see the grip starting to work for Brendan Lee, the mediums compared to the softs here as they head down into the final second. Actually, you can hear Brendan Lee lifting off really hard into those last couple of corners there. Doesn't want to close up to Blakely too much as they come through the stadium section into the final corner. Does Blakely come in? Does he stay out? We'll see in due course. He's going to stay out. Brendan Lee getting the tail out of the final corner as he heads down the straight now. We'll see if he does decide to go for that move, or is he happy to just sit there for the moment and allow Blakely to continue to run in the clear air, because he knows that Blakely will have to pit very soon and has a chance to save up ERS while doing that. But again, not ideal when we look back at the other hard runners of Barry Borman. He can't close that gap. He's not able to do it, and he's under severe pressure from Danny Beresnay at the moment.
Certainly is. Danny Beresnay currently sat in 8th place and just on the tail of Barry Burman. Burman's got a problem because he's 2.3 behind that of Jake Benham, does not have DRS, so mightily exposed here at this point in time. And Ron Haar doing a great job of keeping Alfie Butcher in behind too. Now Butcher's going to start feeling the effects of those soft tyres very soon as well. So we'll have to see whether the soft tyres box around now. You would have expected so. Blakely, despite pulling together the delta that he did, is now seeing it all seep away at the hands of Brendan Lee. And the way things are currently panning out here, of course, we do know that the undercut is quite powerful, of course, here in the F1 game this season. And we know that Jarno Watmere has used it time and time again, but this time he's going to be going for the overcut on the hard tyres. So we now see the cars now around the final corners still. Lap 10, soon to become lap 11 at this point. Blakely taking them around the final bend now. This is a chance here for Brendan Lee. Champion versus champion as he opens up the DRS now and makes his way down the home straight. Does he seek to open the door here and now? Remember, Blakely obviously might be struggling for grip. A great opportunity for Brendan Lee should he get in front, because if they can lodge together a car in between them, as Danny Berejnay gets himself past out of Barry Burman now as well, who is holding him back for quite some time. The Ferrari letting the Ferrari engine-powered Haas through now into 7th place. Berejnay on the rise.
Yeah, Berejnay getting through. Barry lifting off into turn 1 to let Berejnay go. So Barry wants a chance to follow Berejnay here, save up some ERS and use the slipstream to try and close this gap. He needs these guys to start scrapping in front, really, but I can tell you it's tricky for them. All these guys are all saving ERS at the moment. There's nobody really going for any moves here, but Blakely is doing a stellar job out there on the soft tyres. And Alfie Butcher, it must be said, he's hanging in there on the soft tyres. That DRS really helping him to stay in the tow here as they head into the stadium section once again. The laps ticking by here in Mexico in a crucial race in the championship with 3 to go, including this one. Could be a big score for some of these guys to finally get a stranglehold on the championship. Out of the final corner they come once again onto lap 12 of 36, and it's Blakely still in the lead. Brendan Lee happy to sit there for the moment. He's closer than he was last time. Is this the chance? It is now. Brendan Lee finally decides to go for it. No fight put up by Lucas Blakely, and Brendan Lee will lead here at Mexico on lap 12.
Yeah, Brendan Lee back on top yet again like he was at Qatar, bringing together the big results. We got also Nicholas Longue making his way through as well, past out of Wilson Hughes, who now sees himself drop down into 12th place. Remember, he's on the soft tyres and is going to have to box very, very soon off those tyres as well. Also, Barry Burman right on the rear here of Danny Berejnay. The Hungarian is going to come under pressure, I think, in his own right as well. The Scuderia Ferrari currently sat now in 8th. Well, so this isn't ideal for Burman because he's quite a few cars behind Otmir. He's got Jake Benham in between him, Danny Berejnay as well. Bear in mind, those are 2 Mercedes eSports signings. So does there come a point here, Jack, where all of a sudden Mercedes call upon Benham and Berejnay to do them a favour?
Yeah, it could very well be. I mean, that wouldn't be. We've seen it before, but we'll see if they decide to do it in a league race in this one. But I have to wonder: did Barry pick up damage in that lap 1 melee? He seems a little bit off it at the moment, but we'll see if it comes back to him. He tried to go up the inside of Berejnay into turn number 1, but it wasn't on for him. Berejnay saw him coming, but that was it. Ronar now deciding to go for the move on Lucas Blakely. Now the Alphas getting working together here. He's given the slipstream. Blakely giving the squeeze to Ronar down the straight as they go into the braking zone now. Blakely's not giving this up too easily, but has to give up in the middle of the corner, and Thomas Ronar moves into 2nd place. So it's an Alfa Romeo 1-2, and Alfie Butcher fancies a go as well as they head down the straight here, but he won't have quite enough grip on the exit to try to get alongside Blakely there. Blakely wasn't letting that go too easy, but you can see the team play between the Alphas. Brendan moving to the right-hand side to give Ronar that slipstream, and it is a 1-2 for Alfa Romeo at the moment. Yeah,
we take a look back as well in the replay of Brendan Lee taking the lead of the race, and he's just seen his teammate join him now into 2nd. A great showing as well from the 2 Alfa Romeo drivers. Currently sat now P's 1 and 2, with Lucas Blakely 3rd. Alfie Butcher now 4th as well. Jana Watmir in 5th, currently 6/10, 6.5 now in behind that of Alfie Butcher, with Jake Benham in 6th place. A small gap then. Well, I say small gap, it's quite large. Actually, if we consolidate that, we'll certainly consider it being Formula 1 cars. 2.3 seconds separating Barry Burman and Jake Benham as they head through the final corner. Now, it's Brendan Lee leading the way on those medium tyres. 2 cars, both on mediums, currently sit at the sharp end. Lucas Blakely starting to drop away. Now, I think this, Jack, is the sign that we're going to be seeing those soft tyres start to fall away. And here comes Jana Watmir to prove that point now, because he's on the hard tyres and challenging the soft tyres of Alfie Butcher. Could he get a 2 for the price of 1? He had a look on Lucas Blakely then. I tell you what, that would have been magical to move that Mercedes the way he did, heading through the first sector, but still jumping Alfie Butcher, and the hards coming into play here in lap 14.
That was a brave move from Jarno to go around the outside into turn number 1. It was on the edge of grip coming through there, but he managed to get it around the outside. On again, those soft tyres not able to keep up the fight there, and he moves up to P4. So the hards starting to come into effect now as he comes through the middle sector. We'll see how this goes. Alfie Butcher trying to hang on for as long as possible on those soft tyres, really extending this stint, as well as Lucas Blakely, who's hanging in there in 3rd place for the moment. But then you have Jake Benham, who's following behind as well. Barry still trying to close this gap. He's got back in front of Berejnay, but 2.6 seconds now is the gap to the lead train. He needs something to happen up here now as we approach this next lap of racing here. Lap 14, about to go into lap 15 of 36. It's still Alfa Romeo 1 and 2 here. Thomas Ronnar leading the way from Brendan Lee, from Lucas Blakely, from Jarno Watmere now, who comes out of the slipstream, doesn't want to overtake there. Wilson Hughes is the first of these soft runners to go for it there as this Alfa swap up towards turn number 1. So Brendan Lee back to the front, and you can see Jake Benham making the move on Alfie Butcher to follow Jarno through on the inside, and the Alphas working well together up the front. But Benham now makes the move on Alfie Butcher. The softs now really struggling, but you have to say, Butcher and Blakely doing an excellent job to hang on there.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we would have seen Alfa Romeos really, at the sharp end and really working together so strongly, aside from Qatar, was when Jarno Watmere was actually driving for them all those years ago. And of course, it was that team interplay that led to them becoming certainly strong contenders in F1 esports all the way back in 2020. Of course, when Jarno would take his very first PSGL title, well, not his very first PSGL title, his F1 esports title, but of course that same year he would go on to become a PSGL champion. After signing to Mercedes in season 27, he would take that very first championship, make history as well at the same time. Blakely, though, is a bit of a problem for the Flying Dutchman, because now the gap between the Alphas and that of Jarno will stretch outwards as in comes Lucas Blakely now finally. Jarno stays out, of course, as you'd expect, with Benham now following suit. Alfie Butcher also coming in, so those on the softs now dumping them off here. And up at the sharp end, Ronhar swaps for the lead. It is now a 1.3 second margin for Jarno to find to close up on the tail of Brendan Lee.
Yeah, it was 1.8, so he's used ERS down the straight there to try to close that gap down to 1.2 and has to get himself inside that DRS detection point as the Alphas will work together as much as possible. But the crucial thing is the Alphas have each other, but Jarno has Jake right behind him. They're not teammates here at PSGL, but they are at Mercedes. So this is Mercedes versus Alpha at the moment. And you can see now Alfie Butcher, Lucas Blakely have come out of the pit lane together. 10 seconds of clean air in front of them. They've gone onto the medium tyre. So let's see what response will be there from the Alphas. Jarno just teetering on the edge of DRS detection at the moment. Not quite in it just yet. 1 second is the gap at the moment. But remember, the two Alphas are, of course, going to have to pit earlier than the Mercedes behind them. Of course, they're on the hards as well as the Alphas are on the mediums. So now, has he managed to get inside that crucial DRS detection point as he crosses there? I don't think he has. He's not quite got it as he comes across the start-finish line. Gap is just outside the detection, and again, it's going to be an uphill battle here. He's used up a lot of ERS there. The Alpha's swapping in front. He's back in it now, but he's dumped every ounce of ERS that he's got, and now has to try and recharge that all back again. Yeah, well, that's certainly led to him having a purple first sector. Of course, prior, a 29.001 for Jarno Watmere, the fastest man in the first sector. Lucas Blakely currently with the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:18.213, but I'm sure that will be swallowed up later on. Should we see those on the hard tyres swap onto the softs late on in this race. We'll have to wait and see as to what compounds they do opt for. Whether Jarno will choose to go very, very late on those hards, it could be the case. We're on lap 17 of 36, not even quite at the halfway point, just another lap will decipher that for us. Heading through the S's now, and they'll make their way in towards Sector 3 out of Sector 2. As now we see Brendan Lee now taking the lead of the race. The Alfa Romeos continuing their tactics of swapping positions down the long straight at the Principale. There is Jarno Watmere, the Flying Dutchman. Knows how to win races, knows how to win championships, has yet to win at Mexico since season 27. Of course, the man to win the last two occasions was Barry Burremand, who, I have to tell you, given the current set of affairs, will really struggle to win anything considering the damage that he does have in store. We're now going to be seeing the two Alphas swap again as standard procedure. Going into the lead now, Thomas Ronhar, and further back as well, Jake Benham moving up into third place as well. So the All-Star working with his Mercedes teammate from F1 Esports last season, Danny Berejne, now moves ahead there of Barry Burremand. He's now up into fifth place. So now we're starting to see things come into fruition. This is not ideal for Barry Burremand though, Jack. No, it's not. He's getting continually. He is working with Danny Berejne at the moment. The two of them are definitely swapping places strategically. They're not fighting too hard with each other down the straight, but you can see Jake getting through on Jarno there. Now that might help out Jarno a little bit here. It'll help him sort of drag himself up to the back of the Alphas and stay within that DRS range. And of course these two, as we mentioned, again, the two Mercedes seats in PSGL were filled by Marcel and by Jarno. So again, it was Jake who got the AlphaTauri seat here at PSGL. So he is still very much a part of Mercedes F1 Esports. So this will be now a chance for him to try and attack the top two here and make something work for Jarno behind as well. Drag him along and see if he can make it work here. So we'll see how this gets on here as the battle further back. 5 seconds nearly is the gap to Beresnay, Borman, Ido. Nicholas Longuet made good tracks now as Beresnay pits, and as does Barry and Josh Ido from the hard tyre. They're going in before the medium runners, so the medium runners staying out quite long, the Alphas here, but they're deciding to go for that undercut.
Yeah, they certainly are. Longuet now under pressure because Alvaro Caraton is going to send it down in towards turn 1. Big question is, does he make the move? Not quite. Unable to do so in towards turn 1. Ishmael Fassi as well in behind. Now remember, they can go the distance too. Wilson Hughes making his way out as well past the pit lane. He's on 4-lap old medium tyres. Barry Burman coming out as well, and just breaking away across his nose was Ruben Pedreño, who also as a consequence gets past out of Danny Beresnay. So Pedreño managing to undercut these guys as well on the medium tyres, starting to try and build up a little bit of a presence here up in the tighter affair of things, certainly in the bottom 10. Lucas Blakely further up the road, but look at the gaps here again. Jack Alfie Butcher, who's already boxed 6.3 ahead already of Wilson Hughes, who's got older tyres on as well. So it hasn't worked out too badly for Lucas Blakely right now. P10, and whilst we've got the top 9, shall we say, that is still yet to box, it looks like it might not be all over yet for the McLaren.
No, it certainly isn't. But the thorn in his side at the moment is Alfie Butcher. Now he's working with them very well here as they come in. Jake Benham is the first of sort of the Mercedes team, so to speak, to pit. He comes in. The Alphas are going to swap again. Brendan Lee goes back in front as they come down, and you can see as the positions change now, Patrick Sipos is also going to come into the pits off of his hard tyres as well. So Lucas Blakely and Alfie Butcher, they were the first to pit out of these guys. They started on the soft tyre, moved to the mediums, and they're working together now as they head towards turn number 1. Alfie Butcher will move in front of Lucas. Lucas lets him go, and they carry on their way. So good working relationship going on there. Jake Benham will come out just about in front of Wilson Hughes. They needed that to work out, but look at the gap, 6.5 seconds, but that might come back to them later. They have a 4-lap tyre advantage.
You certainly do. We're just watching as well on our screen because Lucas Blakely hovering all over the back of Alfie Butcher. So they head through now, through towards the double right-hander, and heading out of turn 6 now. They'll make their way down through towards turn 7, where they'll make their way around the S's section. Of course, they then got to send it through turns 8, 9, 10 and 11 before they then reach the Avalo Straight and in towards the Forest Salt, where they then reach turn 13 and the latter corners before they then commence their lap 21 and 36. As we can now see them all tying up together now. There you can see Lucas Blakely on our screen. Brendan Lee comes into the pits now. So does Jarno Opmeer. Interesting call here. They went long on the medium tyres. Jarno, has he gone early on the hard tyres? That's the big question. Making his way out of the pit lane now. Let's wait and see what this delivers. Blakely's already well out. Blakely now 7th place and has come out convincingly ahead of Brendan Lee and Jarno Opmeer. They've lost time as a consequence, but also don't forget, folks, they'll have far younger tyres than that of Lucas Blakely as we head deeper into the race.
Brendan's gone on softs on the Alpha. That's interesting that he's gone to soft tyres. Was that intentional, or was that the right call from Alfa Romeo? We saw how long they went earlier on the soft compound tyre, but he's going to have to look after them. But crucially, Jake Benham has come out in front of him there. Jarno Opmeer coming out behind as well. He's come out in front of Danny Beresnay. Barry Borman on the attack on Pedreño on the inside. Gets it cleanly stopped and through, and he chases after Danny Beresnay now. But interesting call from the Alphas. Wilson as well is under pressure now from Brendan Lee, who's on the soft tyres, trying to make these work. Very interesting call from Alfa Romeo to go to the softs. Whether that was intentional or not, he's got to work with it now, and he's on a major push now. Brendan Lee getting past Wilson Hughes, and he can now chase after Jake Benham. Thomas Ronar into the pits, the second Alfa Romeo to come in. Nicholas Longuet is in, Caraton is in, Ishmael Fassi has to stay out because of the double stack. So Ronar comes in and it is the softs for Ronar as well. We love to see this. Alpha are mixing it up today.
Yeah, they are. They've literally blown away everyone else's decision to not pit onto the softs. It's Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronhar, the two Alfa Romeos working. They're in cahoots. Of course, as we saw in Qatar, they did something very similar in terms of working together. Both drivers opting for the faster compound of tyre, but will it stretch to the end? Will it garner what they want? The big question is, though, is obviously Wilson Hughes. He's the thorn in the side of many because he's got Lucas Blakely now currently sat in third place, trying to jump up on Alfie Butcher. I mean, he's going to be certainly a figment for when Danny Berejnay comes into the race later on. So I tell you what, answers on a postcard, please, folks. Goodness knows who is going to actually land the top spot here in this PSGL. Fascinating, probably one of the most fascinating races in terms of strategy we have seen this season here at Mexico. It certainly causes a stir. We spoke about how it could cause a stir in terms of the championship, but in this race alone, we could be in for a major shock.
You certainly could. So at the moment, Ismail Fassi is the only driver to have not pitted so far off of his tyres. You'd expect him to come in this lap, and he does. So now that releases, and this is the order now. Your net race leader at the moment is young Alfie Butcher. For the second time this season, he leads a race here in Mexico. Lucas Blakely is second, and then comes Jake Benham, Brendan Lee, and Jarno Watmere. Wilson Hughes then runs behind. Danny Berejnay is there, and you can see Barry Borman, Rupert Pedreño, and Josh Ito now as they start to fight out. Berejnay on the attack. They're almost three abreast down the straight as they fan out down the inside. Goes Barry on the inside of Danny Berejnay, and he gets to stop. A little touch in the rear for Danny Berejnay. I think it was from Pedreño as they go side by side, and through they go. A little shove provided by Josh Ito, it looked like, as they came through, or possibly Ronar, who's on the softs, by the way. He's trying to make ground, and he gets through past those two cars on the inside. So again, Ronar's trying to make these soft tyres work, but he is not being let through that easy. Look at this from these two. Pedreño and Ito being the rolling roadblock for Thomas Ronar, and he couldn't make the move stick.
No, he couldn't. I tell you what, blocked immediately by Pedreño as they head through now the S's section. Ronhar now needs to get himself past because these soft tyres won't last the test of time. He needs to not only conserve them for the bitter end, but he needs to make sure that he makes the places necessary. He's going to look and hover all over the rear of Pedreño, who defends brilliantly but loses the car heading through the next section, and Ronhar pounces. He's now up into 9th place and stuck in behind that of Josh Ito, who I'm sure won't make his life any easier.
Yeah, Ronar needs to get by here. His teammates up the road here, and he needs to make these soft tyres work. Down the straight they go again, and you can see now the laps ticking by. Ronar trying to go on Ito here. Down the inside they'll go, but it's not going to be easy money for Thomas Ronar. Ito releases the ERS. He'll have the grip, goes defensive, knows what's coming, but Ronar has the grip to go around the outside on those new soft tyres, gets it done. P8 for Thomas Ronar, and now he can go on the charge up towards the next cars in front. Lap 24.36. It's now Lucas Blakely from Alfie Butcher. Brendan Lee pushing though on the soft tyres, brings the gap down to under 3 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting tight and hard fought there in the middle. Barry Burman somehow, some way, has cultivated a P6 after the hardships that he has sustained. 2.7 though off the back of Jarno Watmere, his title contender. 1 point separates them coming into this round here at Mexico. We're also seeing a coming together between Thomas Ronhar and also that of Danny Berejnay. They open up now, heading down through towards the Avalo straight, heading down into the Avalo itself. Thomas Ronhar leaps up into 7th and is now chasing after Barry Burman in the Scuderia Ferrari, and now in 6th place. He's got to try and defend mightily against the Dutchman, who is haunting his every move.
Yeah, there's not a lot that Barry's going to be able to do about this. Down the straight they go again. Fastest lap of the race. Thomas Ronar, here he comes on the soft tyre. There's nothing he can do. Butcher swaps with Blakely down the straight, and this will be the other swap. Thomas Ronar moves in front of Barry Borman, and you can see now Berejnay trying to go with them as well, but not able to do so. So through goes Ronar. 3 seconds is the gap up to Jarno Watmere, but look at the gap. It was 2.9 a lap ago. Brendan Lee has brought it down to 1.8 seconds as the laps tick by, but The other thing he's got is he's dragging Jake Benham, he's dragging Jarno with him as well, but Thomas will be with them in about a lap or so's time, possibly 3 laps time, but he's flying on those tyres, and Brendan Lee is also flying. He senses an opportunity of a victory here, and what a result it'd be, what a moment it'd be in the championship if he could do it.
Yeah, I tell you what, another win, of course, 16 points, remember, for a win in PSGL. P2, 12, 10 for P3, 8 for P4, 6 for P5, 5 for P6, 4 for P7, 3 for P8, 2 for P9, and 1 for P10. That is the points as they are dictated by that of the PSGL Championship here in PCF1. Brendan Lee already within a second, starting to really go all guns blazing here on Lucas Blakely. Needs to try and launch a charge. Already 5 laps sustained on those soft tyres. Ronha has the younger set out of the 2 Alfa Romeos. They head down now the straight. Butcher still leads the way. He's got Blakely locked in behind the McLaren, all dressed in orange, now looking to try and cause something of a stir to that of Butcher. They have exchanged places already through this race. Brendan Lee with every chance here to perhaps unleash something special as now they make their way down through towards this next left-hander. The Alfa Romeo trying to get closer. He's got a little bit more work to do here, Jack, but already goes in deep on the brakes and looks for a switchback. A stellar move, an incredible move for the 2-time champion. Where did that come from? He was late on the brakes but carried the speed. It's Brendan Lee, the 2-time F1 Esports champion. He's got pass out of the current champion, Lucas Blakely, and through goes Jake Benham. Wheel to wheel, contacts made. Blakely forces himself through as they now come together through the S's.
We knew that was going to happen. Pounced. Brendan Lee is like a man possessed. He's on the charge here on the soft tyres, and it caused an almost collision behind as Benham tried to go past Blakely, but he couldn't do it. Brendan Lee is the shark on the attack here as he comes through the final corner. Next up on his kill list is Alfie Butcher down the straight as he heads through his broken DRS on Lucas Blakely now. Jake Benham on the charge behind on Lucas Blakely. These guys pitted way earlier compared to these guys as they come down into the braking zone for turn 1. Jake Benham fancies a go at Lucas Blakely. Brendan Lee as well will go on the inside. He'll lead the Mexican Grand Prix. Meanwhile, behind, Jake Benham versus Lucas Blakely. There's a little bit of contact through the corner. It always ends up like that. They're wheel to wheel. They're almost getting tangled with each other as they come towards turn 4.
Here comes
Jarno
Otmir
looking for the room. He finds the inside. Jarno gets blocked on the inside by Blakely. The 2 champions going at it side by side between Blakely and Otmir. Inches given. There's a gap there for Jarno. Through goes Jarno. What a stunning battle that was between Lucas Blakely and Jarno. And through he goes up to P3. But Lucas Blakely makes the move. He leads the Mexican Grand Prix.
Another mark of a 2-time F1 Esports champion reborn. Jarno Otmir now in 3rd place. 6 laps accrued on those medium tyres. He somehow managed to certainly reel his way in, bring himself up closer and closer. He took down Benham. He took down Ronha. Took down Blakely here on lap 27. Now sees himself in 3rd. And the Mercedes dressed in black here in this new era of F1. And certainly here in the brand new cars that we have seen over the last couple of years. He's starting to shine here on those mediums. And now with near half the tyre left, certainly the tyre deck left, he will now charge on one Alfie Butcher. Brendan Lee trying to check out, but that job is that much harder as Butcher has the DRS as they head in towards turn 1, but Otmir has a chance. In comes Jake Benham now, looking on the outside of Lucas Blakely, who goes defensive again and stays in P4, but this is getting spicy. Don't look away, folks, you're going to be in for a treat.
Yeah, Lucas's tyres are starting to feel it now. As side by side, Ron are on the attack on Benham now. He has the soft tyres, needs to use them side by side. They just leave each other enough room. Here's the switchback line from Thomas Ronner. Lovely, lined it up beautifully, coming through that corner and gets the inside, takes the position from Jake Benham on those soft compound tyres, moves up to P5. Next up is Lucas Blakely. So Ronarv still very much in this on those soft compound tyres, making the move stick and trying now to close up to Lucas Blakely. Blakely, not a lot of chances. He doesn't really have a lot of ERS to deal with. Has 5% in the battery at the moment and is falling away from the top 3 here. It's top 3. Brendan Lee, Alfie Butcher and Jarno Otmir are the current drivers in the top 3 positions. Ronnar might be there very soon though. He's on the back of Lucas Blakely. Out of the final corner they come, onto the straight. into the DRS section they'll come, into the activation. There's nothing really Lucas Blakely can do about this. Ronar will go through, he's up to P4, and Jake Benham now will try his best to get back again. Here he comes on the outside of turn number 1, has the outside, has the grip to do it, follows Ronar through. Blakely tries to stay with him through the chicane. They just about leave each other room. They're banging wheels through the middle sector they go of that corner, up towards the sector 1 split they come. Benham cuts him off down the straight, and now enter Barry Boremand, who's watching in the wings to try and take some points. There's a little bit of contact made. Barry has to be careful and back out of it there. He's got to think of the championship, but these two are fighting so hard. They've dropped completely from the lead train here.
Certainly have. Of course, Jake Benham drives Mercedes full-time here in AlphaTauri, certainly fulfilling a role in PSGL as he looks to commit himself to more racing for the oncoming season. Alfie Butcher still in second, but sees one Jarno Watmere. We've got to take a look back at that marvellous moment, it has to be said. An amazing coming together as they made their way down the Transera straight, and it was of course Jarno who split the pair of them, made his way through past that of Lucas Blakely in dominant fashion, just found his way through down the inside again, heading out to that chicane section through towards turn 6, and it was Jarno in front, wasn't it, in great style as we now see them come down the straight. Still they're all in tandem. Brendan Lee still out in front, second place for Butcher as Otmir now sits in third. They head in towards now this next right-hander out of turn 1, and look at Butcher who's done a tremendous job, though look at Blakely up into P5 and gets back past Jake Benham.
Yeah, Ronar's with the lead train now. Look at this, he's right behind these two, so it's an Alfa Romeo sandwich in that top 4. Brendan Lee still out in the lead from Alfie Butcher, but Alfie's got the oldest tyres. He's on 14-lap-old medium tyres. He's doing an excellent job out there. What a mature drive this is from Alfie Butcher. Has really cleaned up his act and he's really performing now here at PSGL. Jarno Watmere following behind, followed by Ronar, and then it's Lucas Blakely, who at the moment is the cork in the bottle here. He's got Jake Benham all over him as they come through the middle sector there, but he's not able to get by. Doesn't really have the ERS to attack him. And you can see Barry Borman just behind 25% in behind. Danny Beresnay in behind as well. Josh Ito and Yoni Tormala is inside the points now in top 10, in the top 10 as well. So lap 31 we're about to go on to here. It's Brendan Lee from Alfie Butcher, from Jarno Watmere, from Thomas Ronar, and Ronar really now, he's got to make these moves stick, because though we know those softs will start to die off here, but I don't think this is going to be an easy move as he heads towards turn number 1. He's happy to sit there for the moment, but you know, whenever you see these two sharing the same piece of road, if you look back now, Jake Benham versus Barry Borman versus Lucas Blakely. Barry trying to get points, doesn't want to go past Jake here, but he gets the move done on Lucas Blakely and moves up to P6. No matter what happens today though, this is not a good result for Barry. Both of his championship rivals currently are in front of him.
Yeah, they are, and if Brendan Lee gets the win, of course, that brings him closer and closer into the proceedings as well. Of course, currently sat 4th in the championship. Remember, level with that of Nicholas Longue on 60 points. A win today would garner him 16. That would put him on 76. But not forgetting, Otmir will earn himself some decent points too. But Brendan Lee will be well and truly in the fight for the title as we head into the final 2 rounds of the championship. After this one, it certainly is cooking here at the Premier Sim Gaming League's PC F1 Championship. And Lee, however, has still got a small matter of 5 laps awaiting him here, and he's already sustained 10 laps of wear on those tyres. You know, see him make his way through the final corner. This is going to have to be a superlative drive here from Brendan Lee. He's going to need to club everything together. Thomas Ronha getting closer and closer to the back of Jarno Watmere. We've spoken about the history between these two. It's lasted all season long. The controversy, the battles, certainly the brilliance as well shared between the pair of them, as we have witnessed certainly majesty where it's come to racing. Alfie Butcher having a look down the inside of that of Brendan Lee. Thomas Ronhard looking to advance his charge. Enter as well Lucas Blakely, who has now got one Danny Beresnay all over him here. They're going to collide. The two veterans in the world of F1 esports. They've been around forever. They will battle here like nobody's business here around the Mexican circuit of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Enter Josh Ito, who's going to make it 3 wide, heading through the next left. Ito squeezes through past that of Danny Beresnay. He tries to make it past, but Beresnay holds his line and holds on to 7th place. But Ito's job's not done. He's got Blakely breathing down his neck, Jack.
Yeah, that wide moment for him there has given him a 3-second penalty as well for track extending, so you won't be too pleased with that. But he did get the move stick past Lucas Blakely. It's P8 for Josh Ito. Not a good result for Lucas Blakely in the championship. This might see him out of contention if he continues to fall down the order. But as you can see now, Thomas Ronar still very, very close to the back of Jarno Wotmir. And we will see if he can, if something is going to happen up towards the top end here as the gap now goes out to 0.8 of a second. I tell you what, Alfie Butcher might be in a good position here. His tyres are old, but he's got lots of ERS to try and defend it. That's maybe what he's thinking here. He's on 17-lap old medium tyres, trying to hang on to the lead here and try to go for his second victory here in PSGL if he could possibly do it. Brendan Lee trying to get his second one. Jarno trying to get his first of the season. It's almost incomprehensible that he hasn't got a victory this season. He's got 5 second place finishes. It all stacks up behind Nicholas Longe. We'll get into the points now. Ruben Pedreño and Yoni Tormala going at it as Yoni tries to keep behind. Alvaro Caraton makes it 3 wide as they head towards turn number 4. Caraton might get the both of them. He does. Caraton now just outside the points in P11, but Longe back into them now in P10, so might keep himself alive in that regard as we now are, the laps are ticking by here. It's like the calm before the storm. Everyone is saving ERS here. There is going to be unholy hell unleashed in these last few laps.
Certainly is. Look at Ron Har as well, primed on the back of one Jarno Wotmir on 11-lap-old softs. Are they going to get him to the end? Is he going to be competitive at the end? A very bold strategy, a very aggressive strategy here from the Alfa Romeo team. Brendan Lee also is going to have to try and keep Alfie Butcher in behind, who he himself, 17 laps accrued on those medium tyres. If there's one man who's in the best place to win this race, it is one Jarno Wotmir. But as he so rightly said in interviews prior, it is not just about the tyres, it's about how you use them. And I think this is why, or what it seems to be, Alfa Romeo may have an ace in the hole here, as now immediately, once again, Alfie Butcher looking up the inside of Brendan Lee again, as we see the top 4 who currently remain 2.4 seconds off that of Jake Benham in 5th place. This certainly will be a battle for the ages as they head down now the Transira Straight, still in tandem. We've got 2 laps still to go, 2 laps of magic, ladies and gentlemen, as the championship here enters yet another chapter here at Mexico. Who's going to win? You let us know.
It looks like it's a very difficult one to call once again because it could blow it wide open because we haven't seen the end results of this top 4 just yet. We're about to have another 2 laps to go when we cross the line. Brendan Lee, a stellar performance so far today, but can he hold on against Alfie Butcher, who is determined to try and get a second victory here? 18-lap-old mediums, and he may now have to really look after them in these final few laps. Jarno Wotmir desperate to get that first victory of the season and try and extend that championship lead, but Thomas Ronar is eager to make up for last week. He won on track last week, but penalties meant he lost the victory. He wants to get himself on the top step here as they cross the line to begin lap 35 of 36. Do any of them want to try and go for a move here? Possibly Alfie Butcher does. Yes, he does. Here comes Alfie Butcher. He's on the attack. Jarno's on the attack as well towards turn number 1. Trying to get by the both of them here side by side. Jarno goes for the move.
Goodness
on
me.
the inside of turn 1, and Jarno makes the move. Stick on the inside. 2 for 1 into turn 1. Thomas Ronar will try and get through as well, but he doesn't do it. Brendan sticks in second place. Now it's a chance for Jarno to try to get away. Alfie Butcher not able to make the move stick on Brendan, and he's stuck behind now. Lap and a half to go. Clinical from Jarno Wotmir.
Could that be move of the season? Can that be decisive in the championship charge? Jarno Wotmir, who hasn't won the title now in what feels like forever. Season 27, 29 and 30. It stopped there, but there's a chance here now with a mere 2 rounds to go after this one that Jarno, despite being on the top of the ladder, could yet cultivate a little bit of a gap between himself and Barry Burman. They came here to Mexico with 1 point between them, but the Flying Dutchman returns, and now looking to, on the final lap very, very shortly, bring it home to a stellar PSGL win. In behind as well, Brendan Lee, who is facing the scrutiny of one Alfie Butcher. Don't get me wrong, this has been a stellar showing for both Alfa Romeos, and not least by one Brendan Lee, who has managed to hold back the tide on those ancient soft tyres now, and he's going to come under pressure from Alfie Butcher again, heading in towards turn 1. Butcher still tries to peck on the back of the Alfa Romeo, can't quite do it, but Burman now tries to make places, gets past that of Jake Benham, and he needs as many points as he can muster, Jack Canan.
Yeah, because unfortunately for him, his championship rival is getting clear out front as they come down towards the braking zone here. Alfie Butcher is hanging in there with the Alfa Romeos as they come through the middle sector. It's all stacking up. There's been an instant further down. Ruben Pedreño is stopped in the first sector. There's been an instant between himself and possibly another car there as they come down into the final sector once again. Alfie Butcher is doing a stellar job on those old medium tyres, trying to hold on to a podium. But look at this. Otmir is clear of DRS out front. A little bit of magic is all it required from Jarno Otmir, and he might be in with a chance now of securing the victory now. Look at Alfie Butcher on the attack. Brendan trying to help his teammate behind as well. Ronar has to go for it into the sector now. Looks to the outside in the last sector now. He may make that move stick in the final corner side by side. He may get the podium, but it was a little bit of magic from Jarno Otmir, who finally takes the victory in Mexico, keeps his win record alive in PSGL, and he wins the Mexican Grand Prix. Brendan Lee is second, and Thomas Ronar gets the move done on Alfie Butcher and takes P3 by just 200ths of a second across the line. Barry Borman takes P5, Jake is 6th, Danny Beresnay is 7th, Caraton, Ido and Nicholas Longe rounds out the podium. But it was incredible, it was beautiful, magical, clinical. It's Jarno Otmir on the top step.
It only took 11 times. Eventually, he fought his way through, and in dynamic fashion as well. The Flying Dutchman Jarno Otmir once again resonates with that description, landing himself a victory here at the Mexican Grand Prix circuit, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, and will stretch his lead up the top of the championship yet again. Another 16 points going by the way of the Flying Dutchman, and now Barry Burman will have to try and grind it out in the final 2 rounds post-Mexico. Only 2 rounds left after this. Is this championship win number 4, Jack Kinnan? What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, he's securing his grip on it now, isn't it? That was a huge win for Jarno. That is what he needed to try and keep his championship hopes alive. He's extended the championship lead now. We'll give you the early calculations as soon as we can. You won't get updated standings yet, but you will get my terrible maths. But Jarno has taken a crucial 16 points there, and it is a huge moment in the championship for him to do that. And opportunistic is what it was, and it was great. Brendan Lee secures second place with a stellar drive, must be said, and he's brought himself back into contention with that. Thomas Ronar, on the final possible opportunity, steals the podium from Alfie Butcher, and a hat tip to Alfie. Brilliant drive all the way through. Barry Borman secures P5 as the best he could manage. Jake Benham finishes P6. Danny Beresnay secures points in P7. Alvaro Caraton finishes P8. Josh Ido in P9. And Nicholas Longe, not the day he needed. He finishes P10 and secures a championship point. Outside there, you can see Ishmael Fassi, John Evans, Patrick Sipos, but the big disaster, Lucas Blakely from pole, ends up outside the points in P14. And considering that himself and Alfie Butcher were on the same strategy, that is not what Lucas Blakely would have wanted to see. Yanni Tormala, Ruben Pedreño, Ruben Pedreño, Wilson Hughes, and then Marcel Kiefer, Fabrizio Donoso, and the one DNF that we had from this race, which was Freddie Rasmussen. But huge, huge victory for Jarno Otmir. That is exactly what his championship hopes needed, and he has now extended his championship lead.
Absolutely sensational, folks. And I tell you what, I hope you all enjoyed this one. We certainly did. It was special, wasn't it? And I tell you what, that is exactly what we at PSGL demand. It is, of course, a fantastic race. Lots of action, and these drivers unduly delivered. We literally have seen a variance of strategies in the past. Today, though, I think was at another level with, you know, combination of IQ when it comes to making the big stops. I think, though, one of the main talking points has got to be this overtake heading down into the first sector. You know, turn 1, this was majestic. Jarno, this was the crux. This is what brought him to the top. Of course, managing to take the 2 leaders on, Alfie Butcher and Brendan Lee, all the way into turn 1. That has got to be, Jack Kinnan, move of the season. I can watch this time and time again. How he pulled that off was absolutely phenomenal. He knew when the time was right. He opened the door, took the Tiger line, the inside line, plenty of racing room as well. And that is the mark of a champion. Would you not agree?
Yeah. Brilliantly lined up, watched the move happen in front of him, knew that he had enough ERS to use the slipstream to get in front and found the gap on the inside to go for it. Got it late on the brakes and got it done on the inside. That was possibly the move that could be a championship deciding move later on in this season. But huge moment for Jarno Wotmir, and he continues his record of winning at least once in every single PSGL season since season 27. We were starting to wonder whether he might win again, but he certainly proved us wrong today. And again, it continues the record, George, of Mexico. Only Barry and Jarno have won here before, and Jarno continues that record for us here today. I can tell you, early calculations, I have Jarno leading the championship by 10 points.
There we are, massive in the context of this championship. And I'm pleased to say, folks at home, that we will have Jarno joining us here in the commentary box as well. Jarno, welcome. And for the first time this season, we can call you a race winner. No longer will we continue your stretch of P2s. Of course, you have 5 to date, but I mean, what a result today, and what a move to do it in as well. Towards the final echelons of the race, you mastermind a double overtake. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, it was good, of course. Alfie and Brendan battling in that lap helped a lot as well, I think so. So that helps out as well.
Yeah, I mean...
Thank you. Sorry?
Carry on. Sorry, I interrupted.
It was a good race. Final few laps were very interesting. I think what made it more interesting was just the top 5 top 4 broken away. That way we could play some games. In the end, there actually wasn't too many games with DRS tactics and stuff, because Brendan, his tires died in the last lap. So that helped out as well. So
I think, and this is something we've discussed time and time again, Jarno. Obviously, whilst race wins haven't been necessarily plentiful, your consistency, I think, has been something to really read upon. I mean, in every race you've competed in this season, you've been in the top 10. Obviously, that's where those positions matter. They're the positions that score points. Is that the difference maker? Are you putting work into that level of consistency? Because again, that really does separate you against the rest in that light. Because you haven't achieved a race win all season long until now, yet you managed to come into this round with 1 point lead against that of Barry Burman. It's got to be the key, right?
Yeah, of course it is. It would have been funny if I would win the championship with no wins. We would have loved that. What a stat! What a stat for the commentators.
You've ruined the statistics.
You've ruined it. Yeah.
This is what you've done. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But around Mexico, of course, it's arguably my best track. So I was planning to happen, especially when I saw I qualified P3. I was quite confident for the race. So.
Yeah, and what were the tyres like to manage during the race as well? Because we've seen it time and time again. I know you alluded to the fact that it doesn't really matter whether you're following a set strategy or not. At the end of the day, it comes to how you utilise it as a driver. What is it like to manage it around a circuit like the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez?
Because it's solo grip, so it's really important, of course, to have fresh tires towards the end. But then overtaking is quite difficult in these DRS trains, so the chicanes making it harder to overtake as well, because if you take the inside for one, you're probably on the outside for the other. So it's a really hard balance to get it right, because you can see many others box late, a lot of people box early, but in the end of the day, it just depends how you get the moves on, and a balance of having the right grip in the end. So.
And any thoughts on the next upcoming races? Of course, we're waiting on the tracks to be announced. What are your thoughts heading in to those final 2 rounds? Do you think you can clinch this title? And may I just say, it'll be your 4th PSGL title.
Yeah, of course. I think I got good momentum lately. Every league race, I've been quite consistently in the top 5. So I don't see any reason why not. Of course, Barry is very fast, so he won't make it easy. And I think Brendan is now in P3 or P2, very close behind at least. So he won't be making it easy as well, of course. So, yeah.
It's going to be interesting, but cool, calm and collected as ever. Jarno, congratulations on the race win, and we look forward to seeing whether you can fulfill that championship.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jarno, joining us here in the commentary box. We are going to bring in another driver that has certainly shown to show his very best here in PSGL. One Brendan Lee joins us here. And whilst it looked like it was going to be a possible second victory this season, Brendan, it just wasn't quite to be, but a very heroic effort on those old soft tyres.
Yeah, thank you very much. And, well, you know when you got Jarno behind you, it's always going to be a difficult day.
A headache, I'd imagine.
We gave everything we could. Pardon?
A headache, I can imagine.
I mean, he's one of the best in the business, isn't he? Especially around Mexico. So hats off to him, full respect. And he managed it and got the move done at the perfect time and put himself into place. So, of course, it's something to review going forward. But congratulations to Jarno. He deserved that overtake. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I mean, it was a cracking race. I think what really shone out amongst everything else, I mean, obviously, yourselves as Alfa Romeo drivers were very, very solid in qualifying, and it was very interesting to see already the swap elements coming into play at the very start of the race. Just talk to us about that final stint on the softs. What was the decision-making behind that? A lot of people wouldn't have necessarily gone for that. It certainly was very much out of the blue and a very aggressive strategy. What was the thinking coming into the race?
Well, to be honest, I was personally very surprised that we had such a big gap from like P5 to P6. There was a very big gaggle of cars. I think a lot of people on the hard tyres wasn't able to keep the DRS on the first stint. What naturally opened up a massive window to fall back into. I personally was going into it expecting basically every car to undercut us who went for the alternative strategy, of course, starting on the soft tyre, that is. So, yeah, when only losing a handful of positions, it means it takes away, let's say, the strategic bonus of going to the soft, because the soft has the ability to make those places up early in the stint. Whereas, if we look back on it, possibly going and not starting on the medium and having the medium tyre available in the second stint would have gave us better end of race pace. But as you know, in racing, woulda, coulda, shoulda, and ultimately in racing always stuff happens that you can't control, and this is what happened today. I think we did a fantastic job as a team in the preparations, the strategy, managing the tires, and everything that we could have done in our control, I think we did do. I think, of course, like I alluded to earlier, cars broke away at the start of the race, and that changed the course of where you look to box, where you look to undercut, and how you look to go about it from there onwards.
Yeah, I mean, from your own perspective, I think, Brendan, this new edition of the game is obviously, I think, harness more your abilities as a driver. Obviously, a lot of drivers have alluded to the fantastic handling model. I mean, you're a two-time F1 Esports champion, chasing your very first PSGL championship, and you're by no means out of that. Out of that fight either coming into this race. Joint on points with Nicolas Longuet on 60. You've since added to that accolade now already with one win and now a fourth podium against your name. What are your feelings heading into the final echelons of the season? Do you feel like this is you getting back to your very best?
Well, I think let's say the quotation "very best" is a form that every person in life wants to try and chase, and probably it's a never finding prophecy. It's like the rainbow with the golden pot story. You know, you can chase as much as you can. I think I'm personally chasing as much as I can to be my very best in every race and every lap possible, and for sure, this season is going better than previous years has done in PSGL and F1 Esports alike. I think we have a very good bond inside the team. I've always had a very good bond with my previous teams of Mercedes and Ferrari, and I truly love them both. And they have amazing memories inside of my mind. I think I grew up a lot, and I understood a lot more about life and myself and what I want to be and who I want to be going forward in this year. And I think that combination with, let's say, a fresh start in a new place, to, let's say, not reinvent myself, but to allow myself into a different realm that I maybe haven't been before, is what is, let's say, allowing me to blossom a bit more.
Yeah, it definitely has displayed that. A very, very phenomenal effort already this season, and another great drive as well. So congratulations on another podium, your fourth this season, and we wish you the very best for the final 2 races.
Thank you very much. I love your blazer thing.
Thank you, Brendan. Didn't expect that. But yeah, appreciate it. Great, that's awesome. We're actually going to bring your teammate in as well, Thomas Ronha. Ronha joins us here in the commentary box. Thomas, obviously another great run for the Alfa Romeo team. I said it during the broadcast, scenes of Qatar in a way where you two were working together again. And once again, it seemed that way because, of course, you were swapping between yourselves, heading down the long straight. But again, I'm going to ask you this because I did get Brendan's perspective. The decision to go onto soft tyres later on, where did that come from?
I think starting on the medium was always going to be you've got options. Let's say if a safety car comes out pretty early in the race, you can go to hard and go to the end. But the plan was originally to go to the soft towards the end to eventually get track position and play and try and work together with the errors. But I think traffic kind of held us back to be able to get anywhere near Jarno and Jake at the time. So that was a bit tricky, getting past all those cars. I think I had a battle with Ruben and Lucas and Jake when I just came out of pits, so that was a bit tricky to get past. But yeah, I think I made some good moves. Tried my absolute hardest to get to the top 4, which at the time was I think Lucas, Alfie, Jarno and Brendan. So that was always going to be very tough to get anywhere near them. But of course I won the first tyres and pretty much all of them, so it was going to be pushing as hard as I can to close the gap, which I eventually did with I think like 6 laps to go, and then it was just trying to save the errors and go for some interesting move to eventually put Jan off guard, but I played the safe game and managed to get some good points in from the team.
Yeah, it certainly was. Great points, and certainly for yourself, another podium as well, your 3rd of the season in actual fact. And obviously with Alfa Romeo running so well, yourself and Brendan seem to be in good spirits, obviously working together really well. Do you feel that this is a partnership that Alfa Romeo can count on? Is this something, are you working together regularly?
Oh, for sure. We have an amazing relationship together so far, and it's looking very good as a team. Very good bond together with Brendan and Matthijs, and the whole team in general has been very, very good. So yeah, looking forward to the coming few months. Obviously, very excited. F1 E-Tours is only a few months ahead. Hopefully, I don't think anybody knows yet when we're likely to start.
Mystery at the moment, isn't it?
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. But yeah, I'm very looking forward to it, and yeah, I think everybody is just very excited as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And in terms of the rest of the season, is it just a case of just building up on your performances? Obviously, you don't have to worry necessarily about the championship. Is it a case that you're going to try and help Brendan out to try and win the title?
I mean, that might certainly be a factor. Obviously, I'll try my best to get my result as high as possible. But of course, where I can, I will always try to help my teammate, Brendan. Of course, he's in a very good spot for the championship. I don't know where he is exactly. I think he's joint P3 with Nico.
Up in
P2.
He's top 3 at the very least, and in fact closing on the back of Barry, I believe at the moment, if my calculations are correct. I'm sure Jack Canaran will confirm that very shortly.
I will. I think as far as my calculations go, he is 8 points behind Barry and 18 behind Jarno.
Okay. Yeah, so everything to play for, to be honest. Anything can happen in league racing, as you've seen many, many times already in the season. So, yeah, as I said, looking forward to it, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, congratulations, Thomas, and another fine Alfa Romeo performance, and we look forward to seeing how you guys get on towards the tail end of the season.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Thomas Ronha, everybody. And I have to tell you, I mean, Jarno looked... There seemed to be a bit of a bright-eyed, bushy tail aspect about Jarno Opmeer this time around here, Jack. Obviously, he has every good reason to, because he's finally won his first PSGL race of the season. Not to mention, again, extending his run at the top of the championship. But at the same time, it seems like there's a little bit of jubilance, a little bit of confidence, a little bit more happiness, I think, in the camp at Mercedes. And I think the results are really showing, under that fact. I think, obviously, they had the doom and gloom from last season in F1 Esports. He hasn't won a PSGL title since season 30. This definitely has the vibes of the old and great Jarno Opmeer here.
It does, yeah. That the old school performances that we sort of expected back in the early game cycles are starting to come back, and that'll be really encouraging for him as well. I think on a mental level as well, knowing that he still has it, even all these seasons later, it would be a huge boost to him as well. If you are, of course, checking out the PSGL socials as well, you'll see the winner's graphic there. But this is a statistic that I did not know, and it makes this win even more incredible. Jarno has not won a dry race since F1 2021.
Goodness me.
His other wins have been in the rain. So when you think about it like that, a dry race win for Jarno Watmere has been almost 2 years in the making.
What a stat. What an incredible stat. And I think, Jack, we've got to go back to this, haven't we? This incredible overtake that Jarno did. I mean, this is what granted him the race win. I mean, again, we allude back to that confidence, allude back to that class. He was P3 in this scrap, quickly turned it around whilst Butcher and Brendan Lee were battling it out, heading in towards turn 1. They just did not see him coming. He timed it to perfection, took the Tiger line in towards turn 1, heading out of turn 2. I mean, this is the marks of a great, is it not?
It is, and even Brendan Lee, who's one of the greats himself, a two-time F1 Esports champion as well, had to give a hat tip to Jarno on the timing of it, and he picked his moment perfectly and found that gap that he could slot down, and also use the ERS that he built up to build the gap and get away from Brendan as well. So when you gain the respect of a two-time F1 Esports champion as well, you've done well. So that's great stuff from them as well. I can't tell you, I can expect some stewards inquiries coming in very, very soon. There are some words being exchanged between a couple of drivers, as far as I can see. Wilson Hughes and Barry Borman not very happy with each other, which is interesting because those two are former teammates.
Yep.
So not very happy is Barry Borman with Wilson Hughes. So we'll see how that goes on. And you keep up to date with all the stewards' inquiries by following at Premier Sim GL on Twitter as well, because they're posting all of the stewards' inquiries and the stewards' decisions when they do come out. So turn your notifications on.
Yeah, and as a consequence, the standings officially will be announced as well after those stewarding decisions have been made. So, folks, it's been an absolute pleasure. The Flying Dutchman's back, isn't he? And in great form as well. If you want to check out, as Jack said, all the action, all the updates, you can stay tuned to the PSGL channel by hitting the subscribe button down below. Why not? At the end of the day, if you want to see us live, that's the button to hit as well. Not forgetting the like button. That would really help us out. And also, if you want to check us out on social media too, at Premier Sim GL on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, it's everywhere. And you can get all the latest updates and news concerning that of the PSGL PC F1 Championship. If you want to check me out as well, my name is, of course, George Morgan. I'm your commentator tonight. You can find me at George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, you name it, everywhere. You can find me all across those channels. And Jack, it's your last night, Jack, this season. Share your social.
It is.
And talk to us. Talk to us about your favourite moments. I want to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you do want to follow me, it is at JackCComs underneath our names there. And you can follow me on Twitter at JackCComs and at Jack_Kanan on Instagram. But yes, this is my last race for this season as well. And I say it every year. It's an honor to be able to cover this series. I've been here since the beginning, season 27, and I'm amazed constantly at how the growth is continuing each year, and a huge shout out has to go to all the staff at PSGL, especially to Connor, to Kryptonite, to all of the stewards, to all of the league admins, everyone who makes it happen, and of course all of the commentators as well. They do an amazing job. But this season has been one of records. It's been, one of controversy. It's a perfect, I think, prelude to F1 Esports that's coming up very, very soon. So really looking forward to seeing how that goes. But I am unfortunately not going to be a part of those final 2 rounds. I'm heading off to do my master's degree, and again, the focus has to be on that. I would love to be here, but duty calls and life calls. But I do intend to be back as soon as possible. But it's been a pleasure and an honor to do this every single week, and again, an honor to share it with George as well. He's an amazing colleague, and I look forward to seeing how the final 2 rounds are going to be. Announcement hasn't been announced yet as to who's going to be filling the seat, but again, follow the Premier PSGL socials if you want to find out.
Yeah, I want to see everyone in the live chat give a big thank you, Jack Canaan. And Jack, from me, I just want to say it's been an absolute honour, a privilege, as always. Always love sharing the box with you on a Wednesday night when we call the PSGL action. And to the thousands of you that tune in every week at home on a Wednesday, we really appreciate your ongoing support. And please keep it coming, because League Racing is in a great place right now. And we honestly could not say anything more than thank you for all your dedication, hard work, and interacting in the chat each and every night. Jack, I'm going to miss you, my friend. It's been a privilege. I will see you at the start of next season, though. You're not going away for that much longer, but he will be back, folks, as soon as he passes his Masters, which goes without saying.
If that's my mind.
Well, pressure's on, Jack. I don't take losers, mate. I take winners. So you're going to pass that Masters, and we're going to see you back here very soon. So big thank you to Jack Canaan. Yes, keep the thanks, Jacks, coming. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate that, everybody. But yes, folks, today it was the turn of the Flying Dutchman to take a race win this season. He's only gone and extended his championship lead. The next round, he could become a champion. Tune in next time, folks. Join us next time when we go racing next time at PSGL. From me and Jack Canaan, we'll see you then. Goodbye.
He's got the inside, up here he's through, on the left hand side, hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Opmeer now, to the last couple of corners now, his finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the GOAT is back. Jarno Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.
Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my